Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 27 of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who are the mask-wearing individuals with me today?
Bunny Ears, Stefan, JD.
Kitsune Mask, Stuart Hughes.
And
that's it. Nobody else.
That's it.
And our special guest.
Hi, I'm Helena.
We do this on every episode. I don't ever say anything to the guys beforehand. We just go it randomly. I do it to everyone that guests on the show too. So
yeah, it's great because Stefan and I have gotten somewhat used to it, so we can think quickly about what we're gonna say, but then we never tell any of the guests, and so they're always
part of the fun.
I
told you the show a little random.
That's all right. Started the show crapping my pants. I'm happy to go in that way, honestly.
That's how we do it here. All right, and before we get too far, I want to give a quick shout out to another podcast called All Too Real 2. It's a fun look at the weird world of pop culture, including reviews of direct-to-video sequels and random topics, all done in hilarious fashion by the hosts, Matt and Mike. He's pretty cool, guys. If you get a chance, please take a listen to his podcast. And I think I will introduce the game that we're playing this week, since this was my pick. We were playing the Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, probably the most underrated Zelda game, I think.
Yes.
It's got a much bigger following now than it did when it came out, I'll say.
Yeah, I'll agree. It's still one of the ones that I feel like a lot of people are torn between, or people haven't played but know of it.
It's definitely the most divisive.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, I don't know. Maybe Twilight Princess is the most divisive now, but
I love Twilight Princess. But
Zelda 2.
You think so? I always thought that Skyward Sword was the really divisive one.
Yeah,
Skyward Sword. I'd see Skyward Sword. I used to think it was divisive, and now I just think that nobody played it because nobody wanted to get a Wii U to get to play it.
It was on Wii, but I don't want to wiggle.
But, yeah,
I don't want to wiggle.
Pretty linear.
Play it, so I won't play it.
Oh, before we get too into it, we did get a comment from a listener named Nicholas Mills, and I apologize that I didn't read this sooner because this is all the way going back to our Blood Omen episode. But he told us to look up Blood Omnicide, and it's a 3D remake of Blood Omen, to which I did look up, and thank you for mentioning that because it was awesome.
It only took us 7 weeks to get to that, or 9, or
we just
8
get
weeks, something
so
like
many comments. It's
it's like about 10, I think, altogether. But hey. First, I want to ask, anyone have any memories of this game before I picked it for the show?
Yes.
Like some weeks, and no one has nothing.
Not this week. No, this is by far my favorite Zelda game of all time.
I did not know that going into this.
Oh, wow.
I actually played it before we started the podcast. This was right before we started. I was like, I want to play Majora's Mask again. I was like, hey, we should do Majora's Mask for the podcast. And I was like, oh, looks like I get to play it again.
I only picked this because this is one of Helena's games, and I wanted her to guest star in the show, and that's why we're talking about it.
Yes, I was so excited that you suggested this one. Majora's Mask is my all-time favorite Zelda game, possibly my favorite game of all time of any game. So
wow,
I'm stoked.
Yes. That's a high praise, definitely.
That's
my favorite
praise,
game,
Nick.
Not this one. But my favorite game is Chrono Trigger, as I talk about a lot in this show.
Yeah.
But I say, Nick,
I
you
love
are
Chrono
a beautiful man. That's high praise.
I feel like I should know what that's from, but I do not.
It's SNL.
Okay, that's why I don't.
They had Nick Cage on, and it was like a weekend update where they had Nick Cage and Andy Samberg also playing Nick Cage. It's just like complimenting each other for 2 minutes.
Oh, what version did you guys all play of this game? I played the 3DS version.
Yeah. I played the N64 as a kid with the gold cartridge, and then 3DS this time around.
Okay.
I played the version on my collector's edition disc, which is the one reason I will never throw out my GameCube. I have the Zelda's collector's edition with every game up to a Wind Waker demo.
Yep.
That's so awesome. I played the gold cartridge originally, and this time my lovely boyfriend downloaded it for me online. So we used an emulator, and therefore I have no idea what version I played.
64, probably.
Okay.
Probably, yeah.
Because there's really just a 64 and then the 3DS remake, which is better.
Yeah, there are subtle differences. Like Stuart playing it on the GameCube, that one's actually supposed to be the laggiest one that crashes a lot. So I don't know if that crashed on you, Stu.
I've never had any issues with my GameCube, so.
Okay. And the 3DS version changes a couple things, like the bosses now have eyes attached to them that are their weak spots instead of just damaging them. Like Odawa, you could just shoot whatever does damage at him and he would get hurt. And now you have to stun lock him before you can open up the eye.
I don't even remember him having an eye, but then it's been like 2 weeks. So
maybe you played the different version then.
He probably did. I just wasn't paying attention.
So then I must have played the 64 version online because I actually just defeated Adwala earlier today. And he did not have any eyes, but I was very delighted by how easy he was to defeat.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
One of the big themes about this game that is different than all other Zelda games. One is a direct sequel to Ocarina of Time. Oh, and I should say there's going to be spoilers for Zelda Majora's Mask before I go any farther. Obviously, because that's what the show is. Lately, we haven't needed to say that because the games we've been playing didn't matter, but this one, I guess, it does matter.
I mean, if you haven't played Majora's Mask at this point, what's wrong with you?
I hadn't played it until this show. And I had the original N64 Gold cartridge. I got it in 2000 for my birthday for Christmas.
What's wrong with
it? But I beat Odawa, and then I just did not enjoy the whole time thing, and I was like, oh, I'm done. Never played it again.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So much judgment right now.
I hated this game up until recently. I thought it was just a bullshit Zelda game for a very long time.
You're a bullshit Zelda game.
To give my credit, this is probably in a lot of aspects, this probably is the hardest Zelda game.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Well, I didn't like the whole time thing. Like, this game is all revolves around 3 days where different events happen on each day. And when you do a dungeon, you have three days to go through the dungeon, get what you need, and get out of there. And I didn't like time limits, especially back then. So,
well, I think it's kind of a tribute to Nintendo's taking on of doing a sequel to Ocarina at 9 months after.
Ocarina. What?
Whatever.
What is this?
9 months.
The ongoing
argument. Oh my god.
It's Ocarina.
It's Ocarina.
The ongoing argument. Yeah. But this game was made in 9 months, and there are some reused assets. But ultimately, the reason there's a 3-day the reason there's a 3-day limit is because they could construct certain events that the characters, they wouldn't really have to do much. They could just do the same thing in that 3 days, as opposed to like...
It's essentially forcing New Game Plus, which is a really interesting concept.
Yeah, and it's very immersive. It doesn't break your immersion at all, which is great.
So you're stuck in to continue what Mike said, you're stuck in Termina, which is it's like a parallel world to Hyrule that's constantly in a 3-day loop where the moon crashes into the planet and destroys everything, and then it kind of starts over again. And you just get thrown into that mix and have to figure out what's going on and stop the moon from crashing into the planet and kind of like solve this time paradox that's going on. Although none of that is really explained. It's just the moon's going to crash, stop it.
And it's all about, because the Skull Kid, who's the one in the first game who you play Saria song for, which I can hear in my head at the moment, and he come back in this game, but this game he has a couple fairies with him for some reason, and he steals the Majora's Mask from the masked salesman, who is still creepy as hell, by the way, in this game.
Yes.
Like, I've been posting a screenshot off and on, which I'm going to save on. I'm going to keep in my phone of him just choking Link when you first find out that the mask. He just starts choking him, be like, "What did you do?"
It's like the Homer Simpson show. Wow. It's great.
Oh, it was this game.
It's a great little. Because you get introduced to Skull Kid first. The first character you come across is Skull Kid and Tattletale, who's the Tattle and Tail, who are the two fairies with him. And he takes Navi and flees. And Tattle gets left behind.
Do you mean Epona?
Yeah. I think
he just renamed the horse.
No, Navi disappears, right? Because
Navi's not even in. She does not. But Link, he's flashing back, and it's talking about how he went into the woods after he lost his friend, and then it plays the little chime of her flying away.
Yeah. So he's looking for Navi or Navi. And
it's Navi, Stuart.
I always said Navi, but then somebody told me that it's Navi because it's navigation. And
oh my god.
It does make sense, but
I'm still gonna say Navi. And not Epona. So y'all are stupid too.
Epona. I never said Epona, and this is years.
Pronouncing made up words wrong. Yep.
It's Epna.
Epona.
What?
No, I was just joking.
Okay, I was like, what the hell?
It's Epona. It's technically supposed to be Epona. But everyone says Epona. That's fine.
It doesn't matter.
Because it's not like Link is constantly yelling or anything. It's like he's just typical silent protagonist. Except maybe in the new game.
Yeah.
In my game,
Every time.
there's no sound. So
God damn it, Mike.
I
It's
played-
Legend of Zelda, Mike. It's like not
music
only
was
is it
only
like
on-
the most recognizable video game soundtrack, it's Majora's Mask. It's like the best out of all of them.
I would have it on every so often, but most of the time it ended up off. I never play the sound in most of my games. I just turn it off.
I've just had the soundtrack on my phone. I've been listening to it all week.
Yeah, I don't think I really had. I had it on a few times, but not normally. But that's because I was kind of playing this game a lot of randomly places when I could. I just pulled up my DS, so that might have been part of it.
Smart.
I got all the Zelda reorchestrated discs. So
I don't like. I'm not a big music guy in games. There's only one game that we have not done on the show yet where I will listen to every single song in that game nonstop. But that's zero.
Chrono Trigger.
see, I'm
Yep,
not a
that's
huge
it.
music guy either, but it's fucking Majora's Mask, Mike.
I don't know.
Honestly,
I mean,
though.
the sound effects.
Yeah.
I think I actually might have turned off the music and just had sound effects. But I'm
Mike, I will fight you.
I'm sorry, monster.
Every game we play, almost every time the sounds are turned down, except for Resident Evil 2, where I had to sound up. I had to hear the zombies coming after me.
Well,
Yes.
talking
Yeah.
about sound, since we're on the subject,
Yes.
everyone pretty much recognizes like the Zelda theme. Most people, I'd say, recognize Zelda music, and I think Majora's Mask is. The only word I can think of is like sycophantic, where it's like they have like specifically wrong notes in Majora's Mask music, and it's just the creepiest music in the world. I love Majora's Mask orchestrated, but if I'm like occasionally I'll drive at night and I'll be driving somewhere at like midnight or 1 a.m. and it'll get all foggy and I'll have Majora's Mask on. I'm like, I should listen to something else. Maybe I should have some Wind Waker on. A little too creepy.
I did listen to the Ocarina a few times when they played that, but that was about it. I feel like that was about it. I mean, I might have had the music on here and there, but not that often. I remember certain things. I have the Song of Time stuck in my head, but
That's so interesting because it's such a music-heavy game. I mean, Ocarina of Time, too. The name is Ocarina. Like, the music is such a big part of it, and all of the different masks having different instruments. And I don't know if you unlock the one sequence that it's in the milk bar where you can play as all the different characters. Yes, the new bossa wave. That I love that song.
I did
Amazing
that.
piece.
So good.
I did listen to that, but I didn't care. But I did listen to it.
What was everyone's favorite instrument? This is probably a good question. What was everyone's
That's a
favorite?
good question. Ocarina.
Your vote doesn't count.
Okay, I'll take that.
I think mine was the horns for
Interesting.
Deku.
Heard of the is it Deku or Deku? I've always said Deku.
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 Oh, well, I failed.
Everything you know is wrong, Mike.
That seems to be accurate.
Just jump in and be like, anyway, I really love playing as Zelda in this game.
I almost introduced us as who are the Zeldas with me today, but I didn't go that route. But I almost did.
My favorite was absolutely the guitar. I always thought the guitar was the cool. I thought playing as a Zora was the coolest shit in the world as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Since you brought that up, that scene is one of the most depressing scenes in this game.
Oh yeah.
You find the body in the water. You go and push the Zora out of the water. Get him up to land. He dies. You play a song. He dies.
He doesn't just die. He like gives you like a 10-minute monologue about how like he loves his bandmate and he's never gonna see her again, and all he wants to do is play her a song one last time. And that's how he gives you the guitar. And he's like, fulfill my wish for me. And then he dies.
He's a poet.
And he gives you
put on his face. You wear his face. God, the first time I saw that as a kid, when you put on, I never saw the Zora part. I never got that far. But when you put on the Deku face, oh my God, I was just like, what the?
Oh, it's terrifying. Like this whole game is creepy and disturbing and weird, and I love it. Every time you put on a mask, it looks like it's actively hurting Link. Like it's just so painful.
I hate it. I skip every cutscene when you do that. After I can, I will not watch those cutscenes because they creep me out.
Even when you play the Song of Time and you go back to the first day, that always freaked me out. Where you're just falling through like the white vortex with the clocks, and it's just Link like falling forever. That's something about that was like so intense to me as a kid. It's like
this whole game. I mean, it's all about depression and death, which I want to get into later once we talk more about it. But
I mean, the land is called Termina. Like it's just nothing but endings.
That didn't click till just now.
That didn't click for me either, and neither did Tattletale when you said that earlier. And
I think they're introduced as Tail and Tattle, and you have to read them backwards. But yeah, they're Tattletale.
Oh my god. Yeah. What is happening? I thought I knew this game, but
his whole shtick is that he's like a Weasley little brat, and so they're the Tattletales with him.
That makes sense. I mean, because he essentially is a nobody who takes something very powerful and becomes somebody. And becomes this, even though he's all being used entirely by the mask, he's nothing more than a puppet for the mask. Which don't find out at the end, but
he's parallel universe Naruto, which is a thing they actually do in Naruto. They have, instead of Naruto, it's Mimna, and he's like evil Naruto who left the village as a kid and still got his powers, and so he just started like abusing them and terrorizing the village. And that's exactly what Skull Kid is. He's just like a loser, nobody that like nobody cares about. You don't even really know who he is, if he has like any tribe or family, or if there's anybody like him. He's like a wood spirit that's just on his own, which is already depressing in and of itself. Then he finds his mask and he's like, and he just finds his mask and he's like, I'm gonna get back at everybody. I've got the power now. It's not even like malevolent. It's just I have power. I'm going to abuse it.
I have a question for
Stuart. Yeah, go ahead.
Was it Loner looking for Straylock?
Yes. You play as Straylock, and you have to get the artifacts to stop
Oh my god!
You can ask your question. Stefan. I had to.
What?
It's a reference to a whole nother game, whole nother episode we did.
I was gonna say, I feel like I'm having a strong. I don't.
It's nothing to do with this game.
Yeah, no. The whole mask situation actually reminded me of that Goosebumps episode where she puts on the scary mask and it like starts to take her over, and she can't take it off. Yeah, Goosebumps. Sorry I brought that up. I actually apologize for that.
Yeah, Goosebumps is great.
It's the game more than my joke did.
Best Goosebumps episode is the one where they have the monsters in the basement and they're running from them the entire episode. And at the end, they find out that they're like their uncle and aunt that are vampires.
Okay.
I haven't seen that one.
It might be, I don't know if that's Goosebumps or Alone in the Dark, but it's one of the two.
If only we had power of the internet.
Only.
Which we do. When the game...
It'll be just for me.
I'll start talking. When the game starts out and you after Termina, and you do go to... This game's a little different. You only go to 4 dungeons, essentially, within the 3-day cycle. Like the first one you go to is everything with Deku Link, which I also thought was kind of really depressing too, because you don't even find out right away that the mask he's wearing from the Deku, you don't get it from a dead guy or anything. You just turn into a Deku. Is apparently somebody, if I remember correctly, somebody's son went missing, and turns out that you're the son.
It's the butler's son.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I love that storyline. I actually just watched a YouTube video where some players tried to see if they could trick the game essentially and get back into the dungeon where the son's dead corpsey body was and play the Song of Healing, and that maybe there was something that the programmers had like originally put in and just hadn't followed through where they could actually heal the son. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. They reached out to Nintendo to ask about if they were going to develop that storyline at all and got nothing back. So it remains a mystery, but you can actually see the butler weeping over his dead son corpse at the end of the game.
Oh, that's weird.
That's so dark.
Cool, but I did not know that.
I think not having that go anywhere also kind of fits this universe too, because even I mean, you get that journal. You're like your day planner essentially.
The Bomber's Journal.
You get the Bomber's Journal, which is already a great little mini quest to get that, where you have to chase the kids around in order. I love that.
I did not like that.
I actually have something to say about that. You actually don't have to do any of that.
No, you don't. I love that.
Yeah. One of the cool things about Majora's Mask that people took a while to figure out is that basically the first 3 days you're there as the Deku, you're trying to become Link again, and you have to go to the clock tower to confront the Skull Kid. And to get up in there, it requires you to be able to get on this ledge when the door opens at the stroke of midnight on the 3rd day. But if you face the camera at the right angle and you do a backwards jump, you can just get up there without having to do anything at all.
Yeah.
Also, speedrunners do.
I thought you were gonna say. I thought you were gonna say you could just tell the kid the password after you know it, because that's also something you can do. Like, you don't have to do that mini quest over and over again. You can just go up to the kid and give him the password.
Yeah.
And he's like, "How the hell did you know that?" Well, you must be cool if you know that password.
It's in the 3DS
didn't they
version.
fix that? Yeah, but didn't they fix it to where you have to get the password or no?
I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
I got it, but
I got it as well, but I didn't. I only used it. I only got it once, and then I just used it over and over again. Because I was always funny that the kid was like, "Well, I've never met you before, but you know the password."
That's the whole
Surely there's no way you could know the password unless you were one of us.
That's part of the whole 3-day cycle thing, where everything's reset. Like, you lose all your arrows, you lose all your bombs, all
But you
your
keep your journal.
rupees.
You keep all the information that you have, which is cool.
Which is all part of the game, but I did not like losing everything, especially when I was a kid when I first played this game. That's one of the reasons why I just kind of stopped.
You don't lose your rupees if you put them in the bank, Mike.
Well, yeah, I put them in the bank, but I still didn't like the fact that that stuff irritated me.
My bank was, by the way, the bank was full on the first day for me. I don't know why. I just I was like, I'm just gonna go out and like screw around for a while. And so by the end of like my first playthrough, I already had a full bank pretty much, and I was like, oh well, I don't have to worry about that anymore.
You don't need a ton of rupees in this game either.
No, you don't.
No.
It's really totally unnecessary. I think you need a lot of rupees for like one quest.
The all-night mask, which I never did, because that's what broke me. That's when I said I'm done with the mask and just kind of gave up.
It's tough to get all the masks.
All right. I have a lot about the all-night mask.
Sure, feel free.
If you guys don't mind a hot minute for me to go on a rant about this. Okay. So there's a few pieces to this. Okay. So one, in the Hyrule, Expedia, why is my brain saying Encyclopedia, excuse me.
Travel to Termina, never leave.
In the Hyrule Encyclopedia, they actually classify Termina as a dreamland. So it's not an alternate dimension. It's not another country. It's literally a dreamland. And then there's a little bit of debate on if it's Skull Kid's dream or if it's Link's dream. And so when I was thinking about this game, like every piece, I analyzed it thinking about which character would feel what about it. And so with the all-night mask, the Curiosity Shop salesman said it was created as a torture device. And so if you think about Link, the hero of time, was just forced to go to sleep for 7 years in Ocarina of Time.
Oh, that's creepy.
His brain created this all-night mask that would stop him from sleeping.
Yeah, because it's like a torture device that keeps you up, right?
Yes. And if you think about how what happens to your body when you don't sleep.
I know.
Do you have an insomnia?
I have terrible insomnia.
I also do. So
yeah, it makes a lot of sense because you start kind of like forgetting reality and things stop making sense and you get like weird hallucinations and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that makes a lot of sense.
Yes, I think my theory is that the all-night mask was used in the Icana War. Because we all know that from the Gibdos and the Skelly Boys, whatever they're called, there was this big war that happened and it was really horrible and like everybody died in Icana and now there's all these ghosts around. So my theory is that the all-night mask was used in the war as a torture device.
That's crazy.
Made the game a lot darker than it already was.
I mean, yeah, it's already. I mean, the standard theory up to that was like it was a split. What was the theory for a long time? It was a split realm where, like it branched paths. Like Ocarina had a split ending where you either went to Termina, and the other one was you went to was it Link to the Past?
Yeah, because of the timeline difference, the splits in them. Yeah,
and that's how like the split timeline occurred. I find that stuff interesting, but I could never sit down and be like, all right, I'm going to find out exactly what the timeline of Zelda is. I like that there's like 2 timelines going on and that people are thinking about it, but...
There's 3.
There's 3 now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And it is interesting in the way that like when Link does lose and Ganon triumphs, the fallout of like what happens like leading into Wind Waker, how they're underwater and everything. I mean, like little things like that are kind of cool in the timeline, but overall nobody needed it.
I do like that though, because it says like you don't really get a sense of like what would happen if Ganon won, aside from like shit's not great. Like, it doesn't really explain. I love that it doesn't explain how, but like in Ocarina of Time, when you go to sleep and like Ganon's just been ruling Hyrule for 7 years. It's like Scar ruling in Lion King, where it's just like everything goes to shit.
my
Like,
God.
how the fuck did you do this? Like, how are you this bad of a leader? Why are there ghosts everywhere, Ganon?
Yeah.
Come on.
Eat
How
all the
did you flood
food.
the world? What happened? I've heard
What
like
if that
a lot
was
of
the
people.
story?
Well, I've
What
heard
if
a lot
that
of people
was the
say
story?
like, I've heard a lot of people say like, it'd be cool if in the new Zelda game where with there's theories now that you'll get to play as Zelda and it'll be more like you'll get more about Ganon. Like a lot of people are saying they want more of Ganon's story. I would love that. I would love to see Ganon's story and it's like him trying to rule and just everything is against him.
Oh, that's just reality right now, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
He's just very bad at this. He's
He's
not
just-
even a
he's-
bad guy. He just really sucks.
Yeah. Because you're like, oh, he's evil, but you're like, he doesn't really do anything specifically evil. It's not like he gets in and he's like, all right, flood the planet.
He's just, instead of ruling, he's working out and he's working on his magic.
Just getting
And-
swole.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why he's so hard to defeat. He's like,
Well, if that was the case, how come he's so skinny in Wind Waker, huh?
I don't know. That's the aesthetic of Wind
It's
Waker.
because I think it's because he's a puppet in Wind Waker, but whatever. There's a lot in Wind Waker that doesn't make sense either.
Can you imagine Ganondorf just like doing reps in the gym? Like, none of these Hyruleans understand me.
He's got a
They don't
picture.
understand what I'm trying to do
He's got a
here.
picture of Ganon, and he's like every now and then he touches it, and he's like, one day.
I was trying not to laugh at that, but that's funny. All right. I never heard, or I didn't even think about that whole idea of this being a dream. I mean, I always thought it wasn't like he just went to another country or somewhere away from after Ocarina of Time. But that makes more sense.
No, you know what? Now that I think about this whole Ganon muscular theory, it makes sense why like Twilight Princess was so fucked up, because that was probably the most jacked Link. Whenever Link is like a little Twinkie kid, everything gets solved. But whenever Link gets like jacked, all hell breaks loose. Maybe Hyrule just hates jacked people. If you work out at all, the world goes to shit.
Yep.
That's why
There were no dumbbells in those prisons in Gerudo Valley. That's for sure.
That's why you have so many missions in all the games to like stop people running around. It's just people that are
Except
running
for the
around.
mailman.
Yeah, like half your missions are like, "Hey, stop that asshole! He's like, you need to stop him. He's got something, and he's just running around all day." And it's always like, "What an asshole! He's always out there running." Look at Wind Waker. And look how lazy everybody was in Wind Waker. It was the perfect game.
They're surrounded by water.
It's surrounded by water. Like
Surrounded by water.
Link is introduced in Wind Waker by just being passed out up in a crow's nest. It's just like can't be bothered to even sit up when his sister comes and gets him. He's the hero.
All right, Majora's Mask.
You were saying something, Helena?
I don't. What was I?
I have no idea.
Day? Oh, okay. So if you think about the dream theory from, oh my god, I blanked. Okay, if you think about the dream theory from Skull Kid's perception, that could be an explanation why the world is so fucked up, because he was stuck in the Lost Woods his whole life. He doesn't know anything about anything. So his brain is just like, I'm going to make up shit and fill in the gaps. And that's why nothing makes sense. Because
I think if it was Skull Kid's dream, like everyone would worship him though. Like
true.
I
But
would
if
say it's definitely. I would say it's Link's stream. I'm buying into this theory a lot now. I think it's Link's stream, and I think the reason the world is so fucked up is because Zelda's not there, and she's the wisdom aspect of the Triforce, and you need wisdom to have a functioning world.
That's fucking deep.
Yeah. So without wisdom and without wisdom and power,
All you have is courage.
Yeah, all you have is courage, and like everyone's completely nonplussed by the idea that there's like morbid death everywhere because they're all so fucking brave, but. They ain't got no
That's a
wisdom.
good
They ain't got no
point.
power.
I don't know if anyone creating this game was thinking that point, but that is a good point, though, an idea, because, yeah.
I usually don't buy into those theories, and now I'm totally on board.
Yeah.
Yes. I just keep thinking of the guy from the History Channel, Aliens. Speaking of aliens.
There are aliens in this game.
Yeah, that was the weirdest part of the game for me. I was like, everything else, in Zelda rules kind of makes sense, but the aliens were totally, I was not expecting that.
Well,
Aliens trying to steal cows.
Well, everyone talks about the aliens. People don't talk about the moon people, which are also technically aliens. But
You mean
people
the little
don't.
kids on the moon in the end, or
Yeah, the little kids on the moon that wear the masks and stuff.
Oh, I
they're
didn't
also they might be like moon spirits or something, but they're still spirits on the moon. I'd say that's equally as weird as aliens abducting cows.
You're not wrong, but also what?
A moon spirit is no greater oddity than an alien. An alien jellyfish.
They actually don't refer to them as aliens, though. They refer to them as them. Yeah. They come at night. Yeah.
They come at night.
Yep.
Which is also fun. That's a really fun. I think that's one of my favorite little side quests in the game because it's so odd and just like the music is totally like creepy and sci-fi. And it's
what
just
music?
so different.
I don't remember any music in that part.
Oh, you should have turned the music on because it's great. And it also escalates so you know when they're getting closer to.
That was a podcast part. I had a podcast playing during that part, by the way.
Like should have just been playing other Legend of Zelda music. That would be the only that's the only acceptable thing to play over Zelda music is more.
There
Zelda
were certain parts when I had the music on, like some of the dungeons, but when I was doing like some of the random crap, like running around Lon Lon Ranch or something where I didn't need to pay attention, it was podcast.
It's Romani Ranch, Mike.
No, did I say Lon? That was completely by accident, by the way. It wasn't on purpose.
What the hell did you just say?
Lon Lon Ranch.
Isn't that what it is in Ocarina?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's
But this is Termina, damn it.
Hey, it had the same
every word wrong.
That's they did. That's when they one of the many spots in this game where they reuse sprites constantly for. Or I guess not sprites in this game, but models, because the little girl, I don't remember her name, but I didn't care. It's the same girl.
Cremia.
Romani is the younger one, and Cremia is the older one.
Cremia.
Aren't those the same models from Ocarina of Time for the young and older?
Okay. Milan.
I know some people. I know some people were like kind of thought that was lazy on Nintendo's part. I think it worked really well. In terms of the game because it just made it even creepier because it's all characters you recognize from Ocarina, but they're completely different. They have different personalities. Sometimes it makes it even stranger being in this world where everyone looks the same, but they're all different people.
Yeah.
They're all like
kind of fit that whole dream sequence idea where he is dreaming and he's taking things he remembers, changing it up, and putting it in this world. Because one thing that kind of confused me as a kid was the two witches that you meet in the swamp, which are Kome and I'm butchering their names. The two they're in the Spirit Temple boss, not Green at a time.
And Katake.
Yeah, and at first I was thinking, okay, this is either different witches or I don't know what I was thinking back as a kid in 2000. But as I was an adult playing it, I was like, is this like saying that if Ganondorf didn't happen, now they're good? But I guess they're completely different characters, aren't they? Supposed to be, right?
They're named the same, which is interesting because they're some of the only characters that maintain the same names between Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time.
Mm-hmm. Which again, I think goes back to the fact that they had to make this game in 9 months. So, I mean,
you could also say they're magical
there.
characters, though. So maybe there's something to do with magic acting all wonky when it comes to alternate universes in dream worlds.
And the dream world thing makes so much sense to Helena. Like you were saying, that just makes perfect sense for this.
Why, thank you. I did not come up with it. Nintendo did.
The whole dream does feel like some weird, like lucid. The whole game feels like some weird lucid dream. So
absolutely. I've heard another theory that basically after what happened in Hyrule, Link walked into... So this one's really dark, guys. Link walked into the Lost Woods planning to become a Skull Kid because people who get lost in the Lost Woods without a fairy become Skull Kids. So that theory says that he went into the Lost Woods pretty much planning to kill himself, and that this is what he's seeing before he dies.
And that is dark.
Yes, very dark.
So, God, that's terrifying because can you imagine if that's what actually happened? Like when they say, "Oh, your whole life flashes before your eyes," but it's your whole life, just everything's wrong.
Oh, that's terrifying.
That's so dark and terrifying.
Well, there's
so
also
creepy.
Trying to fix it.
Also, the idea that in Ocarina of Time, this game takes place in the idea that he beats Ganon, but he reverts back to a child and then leaves. So, I mean, think about what that would do to a person. Here you are as an adult. You were a hero. You were somebody, and now you're nobody again, and no one remembers it but you. And then you're questioning yourself: did you really remember this, or it never happened because no one else knows the type of thing?
Yeah, we should point out that Link went through complete every level of puberty, and then he had to go back to being a 9-year-old again.
Yeah.
I don't want to go.
And he's and he's very depressed about it.
Almost almost permanently separated from Zelda, which, like, even that alone would probably break Link.
And he also lost his fairy, which his whole childhood he had been waiting for a fairy to come, and he was the one kid who got bullied and made fun of because he didn't have a fairy. So he finally got one and became his hero, and then lost his fairy, and now he has to go home again like a loser. And everyone's like, "Well, you don't even have a fairy now." And so
yeah, no one would even remember what he did.
Yes, exactly. So whatever the leader guy, was his name Mido? So Mido gets to sit there and make fun of him and be a jackass. And
you know what? He gets to live with Soraya, though, so that's way better.
How do you guys say it? Soraya?
It's Saria.
Sorry. Okay. I'm trying now to I'm trying not to say anything wrong. In my head, I'm like, now say it wrong.
One part that we hadn't touched on yet is after you do all the Deku stuff, you go to the Goron village, which is also depressing.
Yeah,
you got to
the
follow
whole game is depressing. Everything's depressing.
Oh yeah,
Deku is like about to get executed for
the monkey,
a false kidnapping charge. The Zora's all dying because their ocean's burning up.
I did not read enough in this game.
Their ocean's being poisoned. The Gorons are being frozen out.
Yeah.
See, I don't remember the Zora part because I wasn't reading. I was listening to podcasts.
The only people who are doing well, are the Gerudos, and that's only because they just steal everything. They're already used to living in completely inhospitable environments.
Well, they're all pirates in this game. I did like the pirates.
That's racist.
Well, it's basically like every other Zelda game where there's a poison plaguing the land, and you have to go into a temple and cleanse it of the corruption.
Kind of, yeah.
And that's basically what happens in this game. For the Gorons, it's winter. For the Deku people and the monkeys, it's like a poison swamp. Yeah.
It's like
so you just gotta go in there and clean shit up.
The swamp poison. The mountaintop turns into an inhospitable tundra. The ocean. I can't remember what was going on with the ocean. Was it also? It wasn't poison water. It was
sperm whale.
They lost their pearls. They lost the pearls, right?
I wasn't paying any attention.
Yeah.
So Lulu had babies. I think it's pretty implied, if not stated, that they're Maikau's babies. And if you guys remember, he's the hipster Zora that brings his guitar to parties. And then
hipster Zora is a great username.
Yes, he's the one who goes to the parties and brings his guitar and sings.
I hated that guitar, by the way. I hated it.
So fucking cool.
This is cool.
I didn't like the way it sounded. I actually had the music up at
first. Like a guitar?
Yeah, I didn't like it at all.
Even Helena's saying what?
Even Helena's saying what?
It sounds like a normal guitar.
No, I didn't like it. The Zora part, I enjoyed the pirate fortress. I didn't enjoy collecting the eggs though. I thought that was tedious, but that's because I didn't have enough bottles to do it efficiently.
Well, you can kill the eels, right?
Yeah, I killed them all just to get the bottle from the seahorse thing.
Yeah, I kill all the eels and then I just mop up.
So I have a very, very deep fear of deep water. So the game really fucked me up.
Yeah, I can't play games like Stranded Deep and stuff, like all those indie games where you're just out in the ocean and there's a shark or something. That shit freaks me out. And I live next to the beach too, so it's even worse.
That makes more sense, probably.
Probably, yeah. I've been in open water and I know I don't like it.
I won't go in open water.
I'm glad we all share this fear. The first game that I played that gave me this panic was Star Wars Shadows of the Empire, where you have to fight a huge thing underwater. And I was so freaked out in that. And then doing this with the Zora, diving deep into the water, I just got freaked out all over again. Mm-hmm. Deep water scares the shit out of me.
Yes. Yeah. I have a fear of finding dead bodies in water, so you can imagine how I felt about dragging Maikau's body out.
You don't find that many.
It happens, though, and it's really gross. Okay, I'm going to stop myself now.
Sorry. Where the show goes.
Look, after the fifth dead body, it's just annoying, okay? It's just like, God, another one? Come on. Somebody else will deal with it. I'll leave it here.
So circling back to Lulu and the Zora predicament.
The Zora predicament.
Yes. Lulu gives birth to these little baby fish eggs, and then they get stolen by the pirates. And she had brought them to the observatory to check out, and then she lost her voice and went back home and basically fell into depression. And
that's right, yeah.
Yes. And when you see her, she just looks so fucking sad. And she says that she had the amount of eggs, or she had eggs to remind her of her mom, who was a famous singer before her. And the amount of eggs she had is actually the amount of notes in the song.
Yeah.
Yes, that her mom used to sing to her. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, because the eggs actually like make the notes for you to play, which is always really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I found that strange.
I think that's probably that part is so. The whole Great Bay just feels so lonely because I'm trying to think like the main people you come across at this point. This is after you do the Deku Temple where it's filled with all the Deku scrubs, and you're trying to save the Dekus are the bad guys in this, and you're trying to save monkeys, essentially. And then after that, you go to the Gorons, and they've got like their whole, like they're just scattered around the mountain. There's like a whole village up there, and then you go to the Zoras, and you like, for the most part, you're only coming across Zoras by themselves. Like Lulu's just sitting out on the back, I guess, patio of this giant coral reef, just by herself, and it just feels so alone. It's like, oh God, yeah, that part's rough.
I didn't like that part. I also was around that point. I think I was paying attention less to like what was going on in the story and just enjoying the gameplay at that point, which is weird for me. But yeah, because I didn't pay attention to anything that was going on in the Termina Bay. I'm noticing Great Bay. How much of the side quests did everyone do?
I haven't 100%ed it, but I think the only thing that I didn't do all the way were collecting the little fairies in all of the dungeons, because that was really obnoxious.
Yeah, it is.
You get such good buffs for that, though.
Really?
I did 3 of the 4. You get.
I think they all do different things. I think 2 of them increase your health. One of them, they all increase your magic. Magic.
No, one is magic meter. One is spin slash.
That's right.
One gives you half damage on your heart, and one gives you the great fairy sword. But since you brought up the fairies, I did want to say that when I was a kid, those things creeped me out for some reason.
The really great fairies or the regular?
Yeah, they creep me out. The great fairies.
Oh yeah, they're terrifying.
Really? They made me gay.
Same.
I did not like those fairies. What is my cat doing?
There's actually a very fun fact about that. There's an easy way to break the walls when you enter the fairy fountain. And in the game, when you enter the fairy fountain, unbeknownst to the player, outside of the fairy fountain walls that you're in are the other 5 fairy fountains, or 3 or 4.
Yeah,
so they're all just
room.
Yeah, they're all in the same room connected. So if you break the wall, you can just go to all of them and not have to do any of the side mission for it.
It's also a really easy way to fast travel around.
I did not know that
as well. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I did 3 of the 4. I just didn't care about the Great Fairy Sword in the final dungeon because I'm just like, I'm done. But I get to that point with games, especially now with the show, where I get to a point where I'm just like, I need to beat this and I need to move on. And that's just kind of me in a nutshell.
I 100% the game because I love the shit out of this game.
I got most of the mass. I didn't do the final like couples thing where you go through different days in the mailman. I didn't do any of those side quests. I skipped.
That is the hardest quest, I think, of pretty much any Zelda game, but that's my favorite part of Majora's Mask. I love that storyline.
I know of it. I didn't want to do it. I was running. I was getting kind of.
Is that the one that's super? I'm trying to remember now, because you have to get the Kitsune, the Keaton mask off the kid, and it's like there's a bunch of side quests in this game for our listeners where you have to get like usually the masks or items and stuff like that. It's all in your journal. And then there's one quest where it's like probably like 5 different subquests all intertwined together, and you have to do it in parts, and it's so difficult, but it's also so rewarding.
Yes, and if you do anything wrong, you can. So that's the wild thing. If you take any turn off of the path that brings you to that couple's mask at the end, you can get other stuff. So it's hard too, because you're like, do I stick this out? Yeah. Do I stick this out the 3 days, or do I, give up and go get the other shit?
There's also tons of heart pieces in this game. Like in any Zelda game, I don't go after that many heart pieces because I don't like to. And this game, since it had so few, but only has 4 bosses, you really don't get a lot of hearts. Like it expects you to go after heart pieces, which I didn't do.
Mm-hmm. But it's very side mission heavy, for sure.
Which I think turned me off as a kid too. I use a guide for this game.
I like that.
100%.
I like that because I like how much is going on in the 3 days. Like I like that it's so confined to 3 days, and you really, if you 100% this game, you really find out about like every single person. You you really get the sense of what's going on in this world, and I think all that backstory coming together just makes it even more. It makes it even deeper. Yeah, like it made me get like really emotionally attached to this game. And I was like, I know every character. I know all their issues. I know all their motivations and what's going to happen to them in 3 days. I've got to fix this.
We should bring up that there are 2 factions in the game. One of them specifically thinks that they should stay in the town and wait it out, and another one wants to leave. And they're all fighting with the mayor in his office, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't do any of this.
Which is great because you go in there and the mayor's office music picks up and it's just like frantic, crazy. Just them yelling back and forth at each other.
The best noise from that game happens when the carpenters and the soldiers are fighting. And it's the soldiers, whenever the camera pans to them, they go, ha ha.
Yeah.
It cracks me up every time.
I love the noises in this game. Just every time somebody talks, like,
yes.
I did not know anything about the factions in this game because I never went in the mayor's place at all.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a shitload of factions in this game. Really, if you break it down,
I also didn't talk to anybody. That wasn't part of like what I had to, as the guide said. I just because when I play a lot of games, I just follow whatever the guide tells me to in style. In games like this, where you give me a time limit, I get very stressful. So I just go through what the guide says. I don't even like same thing with survival horror. I play survival horror room by room with a guide. I don't even ever mess around.
I'm gonna pick you up on that, Mike, because I know a lot of people say that the thing that puts them off of this game is the time limit.
And that's why I never played it as a kid. That's what stopped me, and that's what it took 19 years for me to finally play this game and beat this game because of that time limit. Just
what I'll say to that though is that it's not a time limit; it's infinite retries.
I mean, it's not. It felt like a time limit.
You do have
really
3 days, which you can slow down. The first thing you do when you go back in time is you slow time.
It's way enough time to do everything. Mm-hmm. It just the only time where it screwed me over.
No, it's only enough time to do in each day. It's only enough time to do like maybe a side mission and a dungeon.
It's enough. Like you can easily process what you need to do. Like for the only time where it kind of messed me up when I first did the Goron dungeon, where you fight that stupid goat-looking thing where you run after him with the Goron, and I killed him, but I killed him on the second day, so I couldn't do
goat. The goat-looking thing. His name is Goat. He looks like a bull.
I hated him.
He's definitely a bull, Mike.
But I killed him on the second day, and I couldn't get the sword right away, and I was irritated. So it took me a while before I went back and fought him again, and then went and did the whole side quest with the blacksmith. But I did want to say that blacksmith is just freaking odd.
Oh, like
not the little guy, but the big ogre BDS. It's just strange.
You're like,
it's like Frankenstein.
I'd like
He's
a sword.
the real nightmare.
I like how he says it too, because it's always like, "Hello, I'd like." You imagine Link coming up and putting the sword down, like, "I would like the sword," and he goes, and the text is like, "Of course, we'll get that ready for you in 3 days." I love that.
I didn't do that right away, but then I went back and actually went and did that quest because that sword is really useful. Because your first sword sucks.
It totally makes sense too, because he's in like a volcano. It makes sense that they'd have to be there of all places.
Yeah.
Did everyone get Epona in the game?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You have to.
Just curious. You don't have to. I was just curious.
But you can't get over the fences then to get to where the fourth dungeon is.
If you have the Goron mask, all you have to do is curl up in a ball and set a bomb in front of you, and it bounces you over the fences.
Oh, that's cool. Well, I didn't know that.
This is early 3D Zelda, Mike. You don't have to do anything you don't want to. There's a million ways to break these games.
I did most things in this game.
Since we talked about the characters, what was everyone's favorite side character?
Oh my god.
Oh man.
Because I know mine.
What is it?
Mine is Grog, the guy who he gives you the Bremen mask. Or so you have to use the Bremen mask to bring him all the cuckoos.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's the one dude in the Zelda universe who has a dyed green spiked mohawk.
Yep.
He's like a total punk, and he's just all he wants in life is to hang out with his little chickens. I love him.
I
That's
forgot about
respectable.
him.
He's so far out of the way because you have to go all the way outside of Termina, all the way out to the other side of Romani Ranch into a whole different area. And it's like, I mean, it takes a long time to travel to him.
Isn't that where you get the bunny ears too?
Yep.
Yeah,
That's how you get
Okay.
the bunny hood, which is
Yeah.
the single
Super.
mask.
super useful in this game.
That's the mask
actually-
I wear the most. In
You actually don't need them. You can just walk backwards and you'll go just as fast.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's more work.
God, you just unlock
Yeah.
everything.
I just played this game a lot back in the day.
I
Well, see,
never, I
well,
never
well,
did cheats on it or anything, or like did anything fun like walking backwards. I was just like, I guess I'll go to this top tier dungeon on my first day and see how that goes.
Doesn't go very well.
Guess it
One
did not
thing-
go well.
What was I going to say?
If everyone doesn't have their favorite side characters, what was everyone's favorite mask?
Oh, I do. Well, I do have a favorite side thing. I think it's a side thing. It's that chick whose dad went down to the well.
Oh,
And he's deformed.
Pamela.
And she won't answer the door
Yes.
until you
Oh.
play the song of healing to cure him.
For the Gibdo mask. And if you hit him, she'll kick you out.
Yeah. I always found that story incredibly dark just because
That is-
she doesn't know what happened. And now she's like a shut-in trying to protect him because she's fearful that, everyone's going to kill him because he's like this hideous monster.
When you first go into that area, you have all the mummy things walking around. And they're, essentially like redeads. Those things are just creepy as hell.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
But
if you-
I would like that because it just felt very horror to me. And,
Which you like.
yes.
And
Yeah.
And
one
very
thing
depressing.
the whole game. Well, the Gibdo mask, when you wear it, I think it's the Gibdo mask, you wear it by the redead, they all start dancing,
Yes.
which I like, 'cause then I kill them real easy. Otherwise, they start attacking you, which I hate.
Sometimes I don't even kill them. I just go buy them because I think it's hilarious.
They give you a lot of rupees.
They do give you a lot of rupees, but I didn't need any rupees
I
because
just hate-
my
I
bank was
hate
full and
redead.
my wallet was full, so I actually
hate-
couldn't pick up any more.
I hate
What
it.
a humble brag. I was loaded all the time. I didn't actually need any more
We've
money.
talked about this in every game. Every game I play, the one thing I am great at in any video game is resource management. To the point that any game I will end with like another extra $100,000 than Mike and Stefan. Every
When we
single.
Too
play-
much Resident Evil, Stuart.
It's too much. Well, like when we were talking about Golden Sun, I was like, I found a way that I didn't have to use any healing item whatsoever, and I could sell them all. And so I ended the game with like 1 million gold. I'm constantly aware of how much money I have in games. It's Resident Evil and it's playing a lot of Fallout, like Fallout 3 especially. Fallout 3, I would spend hours walking slowly back to Megaton so I could sell everything.
At least you didn't mention the evil Fallout game again.
I would do.
I still hate you for that.
I would do even dumber stuff in Fallout 1, but.
But since we were talking about the desert area, as you go to like that dungeon was the one that was just strange. The stone tower that you go to
Yeah.
after you
They
do
were all
everything in that
strange.
town. Yeah, Stone Tower is the worst because you play a song that creates statues of yourself.
Yeah.
That stand on a block and just that creeped me out.
That was
Can
always the
anyone
creepiest
actually
part of
look
it.
up the saying to that? I just want to know what the line is for that because it's fucking creepy.
Yeah, what you think?
Oh, the one where you'll create copies of yourself without a heart, or like you'll have soldiers.
Yeah, the one without a heart. Yeah, because they're good in darkness because they have no heart or something.
Yes.
Yeah,
whole
that's a great
game.
line.
It's just so depressing. Everything is about death and
Oh, it really
Oh,
is.
and I didn't. As a kid, I don't think it would have kind of went over me. But as we were getting ready for the show, and I'm playing through it, and it's very depressing. As someone who's been through a lot of crap in my life, as an older Mike now, I'm like, it makes a lot more sense.
Did anyone ever? Did anyone else take anybody else a ridiculously long time to figure out you could make effigy or you can make like the statues of the other characters. You can make like a Deku statue and a Zora statue as well.
Well, I just read the guy, so it told me. But
Yeah, it took me a long ass time to figure out I could make other statues of other heights.
Figured that
Mhm.
one out pretty quick. I don't know why. I have no idea why.
Uh-huh.
it makes you. It gives you 3 switches when you start out. I want to say.
What is even the eye stones in the game that you just hit, even they have really creepy sayings and stuff.
The Stones of Truth?
Yeah, Stones of Truth.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look up some of the eye stone sayings because they're all like really creepy. They're like, it seems to pierce your soul.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, because they were made originally by the Sheikah, correct?
I believe so.
They have the Sheikah insignia on the front of them.
I think she's
Gossip stones. That's what they're called. Gossip.
Oh
stones.
yeah,
stones.
Yeah, and it'll give you like little hints about what's going on too.
It's like everybody's gonna die. XOXO Gossip Girl.
Yeah. Check out that weird blue-haired kid.
But the stone tower, like, because everything flipped, because you have to, at one point you got to flip things in that tower. That also kind of, I did not enjoy that final dungeon that much. It was cool, but
yeah, if for anyone who's ever going to play Majora's Mask for the first time, like when you get through those first couple dungeons and you think they're hard, no, they're not. Stone wall, yeah, that one's the one that really tests your might. And even I think the first time I played it, yeah, even slowing time down, I had a hard time getting through it on time.
It's long. I mean, that's why I stopped going for the fairies, because that's the one where you got to leave and come back to get some of the fairies. And I was like, you know what? I'm good. I don't need the Great Fairy Sword.
But then you fight Twin Molt, who's like your best Zelda boss. He's like your most Zelda. A giant centipede that goes in and out of the ground. I love it. And
then you have to become a giant and punch it. I mean, that fight was cool. But I didn't know you had to grab him, so I kept punching him. He'd fall down. I'd punch him some more before I read the guide and it said, you need to grab him and throw him. I'm like, oh.
It's like wrestling.
Yeah, every Zelda game has to have a giant bug, and they got a giant bug, and I love it.
It was a good fight, though. Like, that whole scene was epic, and I enjoyed it for the most part.
I like the goat the best, I think, because just chasing him around as the Goron ball. I thought that was so fun.
I did not enjoy that fight. That was my least favorite.
You have to be patient with it, but I think that's real fun.
I'm not patient.
It's also my least favorite boss fight. My favorite one was Odwalla. I loved. Now, Mike, you're not going to be able to relate to this because you had your music off, but Odwalla had. His music was amazing, and I think they actually like incorporated what was supposed to be his voice into the music, because depending on how he was posing, he would do just these like tribal roars, and it was like, just fun.
It was like how he activated his magic, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
I always have a lot of trouble with Odwalla for some reason. I don't know why. He kicks my ass every time.
Speaking on the music, it does feel very indigenous. It's pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, the whole swamp area is like super. I mean, the whole Woodfall Temple is very like tribal. It's so like that's the part of the game where you're like, oh, this is gonna be creepy, and then you go back and play it a second time, you're like, this is nothing. This is nothing compared to what I'm about to face.
Yeah,
This is happy music now.
I agree with that. I think the temple music too. They do have like a really operatic woman singer throughout the temple. I liked that. Because everything is very, like 8-bit because it's N64 or, earlier Zelda. But when they have the really beautiful voice acting, that I really dig that.
It's like the only voice in the game.
Yeah.
So it even feels like you've got some connection to. Yeah. I think that was my favorite part about the 3D Zeldas was the shift to like more operatic music. Like I didn't know where they're like I can imagine people freaking out, just going like, oh, where are they going to do with the music? Is it still going to be like the fun bit music, or are they going to go like really goofy with it? And going like full operatic for Ocarina was great, and then taking that to like weird, however you describe Majora's Mask, where it's like super flat and just really like melodic, terrifying music is my favorite.
That all fits the whole depressing, warped idea, which I feel like that's because I mean I never thought about it until it was brought up earlier in the show, but the whole idea, I mean that fits everything with it. Like because I know I couldn't find this. I googled this before the show. I feel like I read this somewhere. I don't think I made this up. That when the creator who made this game, whoever the director was, E.G. Anoma, I think or one of those names, he was suffering like depression. I know I butchered it. Depression or something to do with death cycle. And that's why when he made this game, it has a lot to do with death and depression, all that. Everything around you is all about the ending is coming and how do you accept it. something like that. But I couldn't find the
Right.
article. It's in my head, but
Well, Nintendo, I think, always plays off of that philosophy. They always take things from life. Like, I know, like, everyone that's created a Zelda game that's famous now, they've always expressed how some part of it was taken from their life, that they attribute it to the story and mechanics of the game.
Were they all just super high when they wrote Wind Waker?
Everybody's drowning, man.
this game, I mean, especially,
You know what's cool? The beach. Yeah. Awesome game, bro.
Because this game was just full of that theme everywhere. Like, especially wearing dead people's faces. I mean, everything is all about the emptiness and loneliness of depression, which I, as an adult, kind of can. It's very interesting.
I would say everybody else probably knows this except for Mike. If you listen to the title music, even the title music has that very like slow, melodic, very depressing music.
Yeah.
And then the last like 30 seconds of the song, it almost changes entirely to like a really like it gets even darker and like disturbing. Like it gets
super brooding.
Yeah. It changes from like depressing music to like almost danger.
Terrifying.
Really creepy.
There's only one Zelda game I listen to every single song, and that's Link to the Past. But
well, you're wrong, so there's that.
That's also
you
my
even
favorite.
Like
Zelda
Wind
game.
Waker, Mike, come on.
I haven't played Wind Waker in a long time.
Yeah, music.
Jeez,
It's all like fun and beachy. I love it.
The last time I played Wind Waker, I didn't have a kid yet, so it was a long time ago.
Well, I guess this begs the question: what Zelda soundtrack is your guys' favorite?
Link to the Past, but I don't count.
This is gonna sound weird. Actually, Hyrule Warriors.
Okay.
Oh,
Good game.
I've heard that before. Yeah,
It's a very good game if you like what it is.
The music it's legit. I wasn't a big fan of the gameplay because it was so vastly different than every other game, but that music, that was dope.
I still gotta play it.
My favorite is my favorite game in the series is Majora's Mask, and its music is my second favorite music. My favorite music is Wind Waker, and that's my second favorite game in the series.
Yeah, I would agree. Wind Waker's my favorite too.
Wind Waker's just so fun, and I don't know. I think it might be living near the beach as well for me, where it's just like having that constant music throughout my entire childhood, and then playing Wind Waker. It's like I recognize all this stuff.
Oh, one thing we hadn't touched on yet. We talked a little bit about the Great Bay, but that water temple boss, or not boss, but that whole temple, that temple was annoying. It reminded me a lot of Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
Not
I mean,
as annoying.
The water temple.
Yeah, that's the go. I mean, that was the temple that started it. That was the temple that started the joke about water temples being the worst.
It lives up to this game too.
That is the water temple.
I mean, I didn't hate it, but that's what I use a guide. So
I hated the Snowhead temple. That was my least favorite. But
the hardest part about the Snowhead is getting past the fucking Goron. I thought, because I spent so long trying to get like close to him, forgetting that you had to put him to sleep.
Which is also just weird.
Yeah, I like spent so long trying to get up past him because you can get past him on the bridge if you time it exactly right. And so I probably spent like 2 hours doing that before I was like, fuck it. Oh yeah, I need music. God damn it. I hate everything. Just getting blown off over and over and over again.
It's the dark part about that too is that's where oh god, what's his name? The dead Goron one. Dorman? Is it?
That sounds right.
I'm looking it up right now.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, isn't he climbing up the mountain and then he falls off it and that's how he dies?
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like following on this dead guy's footsteps up this mountain where you could fall off and die, which as a kid, like I didn't really process that. But now knowing about falling deaths, I'm like, oh wow, that's really awful. That's a terrible way to go.
Darmani the Third. Darmani.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's like, he was considered like the single best Goron warrior that ever existed.
Mm-hmm.
And he died because he fell off a path. And it's like, oh, well, that shit's probably real dangerous then.
Yes.
It's not like some dude died. It's the single best Goron warrior fell to his death. And you're like, oh, great. Now I've got to go past that.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I think is funny, like when you wear their faces, people recognize you as the person.
One thing I think is funny is when you wear their faces.
I know. They didn't come out right.
Over here.
Funny wasn't the word I should have used, but it's what I went with. I just kept going.
It is funny.
Yeah,
Like,
it's funny when you wear Darmani's face and they were like, "Darmani, you're alive." What?
Funny was not the word I should have used.
are you sure you weren't in a movie called Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Mike, wearing other people's faces?
I've never seen that movie actually either.
Oh no,
I don't like horror movies at all. Tiff loves horror movies. Has a freaking tattoo of the horror characters on her arm. I hate horror movies.
Well,
I also don't like survival horror games.
Is that you don't really see any of the deaths, but somehow it's still one of the most scary movies ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's on my list to watch someday.
I think you see like one death in that movie. Is that right, Stefan?
I think you
see one character directly get killed. Everything else is off screen, I think.
Yeah, the other one you're just like, oh well, she's obviously dead, but you don't see it.
Yeah, but it's terrifying.
Yes, but speaking of wearing people's faces, Mike, how fun was that?
Oh, what part?
I assume you're talking about
wearing
Darmani's mask, and everyone calls you Darmani.
I don't know. I just thought that because I remember as a kid thinking that was. I don't know why I want to use the word funny again, but I just want to. It doesn't fit right. I don't know.
It is like kind of weird and wacky where they're like, Darmani,
when I was a kid, I think I thought
how did you get back here, Darmani? I thought we all knew you were dead. We all celebrated your funeral, and we were all there when you died. And yet
as a kid, I think it was funny, but and as an adult, not so funny anymore. But,
like, none of the other characters really do that. Nobody calls you Macau.
I thought they do.
I think they say.
I didn't talk to anybody as Macau. I was at that point where I was just going through the game at that. But
I think a couple people like confuse you, but it's not like in the Goron village everybody thinks you're Darmani. When you're Macau, like, and you come across Lulu, she's like, "You're not Macau. I know you're not Macau." Like your bandmates, I'm pretty sure your bandmates are like, "Who the hell are you?" Like the stage manager is like, "Oh, you're Macau. Can you help me get these lights up?" Even though I'm the stage manager and it's literally my job. And you're the lead guitarist, and has nothing to do with what you do.
If it wasn't for this podcast, I would have 100%ed this game. But I started feeling rushed. So
I mean, there's a lot there. Like this game can be beaten. This game can be beaten very quickly. But if you want 100% it, it's like another 20 hours.
Yeah, there's all the side quests. I mean, the heart pieces. If you go down that road.
Like I said, you come across pretty much every single character.
Oh, Are you guys ready to move on to the moon? Or any other things you want to say?
Yes.
Did everyone have did we say favorite masks?
I don't think we started to.
We started, yeah.
Then we went somewhere else.
Because each of the masks did something very specific and very fun.
I'll go next. Bunny Hood.
Oh, that's a good pick.
Mm-hmm.
Good pick.
It runs fast. I like speed.
We're gonna exclude Fierce Deity from this.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Before someone picks the obvious answer.
That was the one mask that I didn't get growing up because I was never good enough to get it. But
well, it's not like you need it or anything.
Not really.
But when you can't get it, that's when you want it.
It's the best.
Yeah, you could pretty much kill bosses like nothing when you get it, especially Majora.
I always called it the Inuyasha mask because you made you look like Inuyasha, which I thought was cool.
It's overpowered.
Yeah, but the only fight you're going to have left when you get the fierce deity mask is Majora, because you get it right before you fight him if you got all the other masks in the game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can go back and fight the other bosses, but you don't need to.
It's not that hard to fight the other bosses because you don't have to do the whole temples again. You can go straight to the bosses.
Which I was very thankful for when I found that out, because I had to go back to get the upgraded sword. I was very
otherwise it would be impossible. Like, there's no way you could do the entire temple.
I didn't want to.
Outside of, like, what about the main masks, though, that you get from each temple? Like the Deku, Zora.
I'd say those count. If you want to choose one of those as a favorite, go ahead.
Yeah,
Zora, I'm just Fierce Deity because Fierce Deity is literally like kill everything.
Yeah, I think the Zora mask is my favorite, which is odd considering like water scares the shit out of me. But the Zora were actually my favorite people. I think that Great Bay was so like visually stunning, and it was just so pretty. And I loved the swimming and how fast you could go. So I was way into that.
I always knew if I was a Zelda character, I'd be like one of those lazy Zora that just doesn't do anything and hangs out on the side of the coral reef all day. I was like, yeah, that'd be me. That's 100%. I have no like false delusions of grandeur that I'm gonna be Link or some shit. I'm the lazy Zora.
Yeah, I would say the most prettiest part in the whole game is definitely Zora's Bay with the sun setting over the little raft with the house on it.
It's so depressing too. God, it's so lonely. Like, it's the most beautiful part of the game and also the loneliest part of the game. It's just such a weird juxtaposition there.
Yeah.
My favorite mask was probably, as a kid, my favorite mask was the Keaton mask because I thought that looked really cool. Because I like foxes. As an adult, my favorite mask is the blast mask because it literally just your face blows up. Like, that's what the
really
mask
useful.
does. You blow your face up. It almost kills you every single time, and it kills everything in front of you. It's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Your face explode. That's the mask. It's your face explode.
And I never enjoyed the Great Fairy's mask. That always creeped me out seeing Link wearing the Great Fairy's mask. I don't know. It just did. I mean, no real reason. I just didn't like that. I never liked that mask as a kid because it was, to me, when I was 12 or 13, I'm like, this is not cool.
Well, it's also, it gives you like a giant head on a tiny kid's body.
I mean, it's useful. It's really freaking useful to get those fairies. Like, you'd never get them without them.
Yeah, you literally need them for a lot of them.
I mean, the masks all have almost all the masks have a unique feature that somehow plays a part in something.
Yeah, there's a couple that have like very singular roles, but
scent mask.
Like the scent mask.
I never used it. I mean,
I
love it.
The scent mask actually does. You can use it in a couple different areas. It's very specific areas in the game, but there's more areas than that one place that you can use it in.
I still can't get over what she said about the all-night mask. I'm not. Yeah,
all-night mask is creepy as fuck.
I didn't get it.
You know, the one thing I forgot to say was that the reason I thought that was used in the Icana War was because Sakon had it. Sakon? Sakon had it, and he lived in Icana. And I can imagine him going into the ruins of the castle and being like, I'm going to steal this shit and pawn it.
It makes sense. I mean, it fits, like, that whole idea, which we didn't really talk about the Icana or Icana. It's a little side thing you do before the stone tower where you have to go fight skeletons. Or
what I love about that is it's the same skeletals, yeah. Okay. What I love about that is it's the same as it's like the equivalent of the graveyard in Ocarina of Time, but it's just the graveyard on crack. Like, how would you like the graveyard in Ocarina of Time is the creepiest part of that game by far.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, it's up there with, I'd say the Skulltula house is up there with it, but it's so creepy. And then in Majora's Mask, it's like, how do we make a graveyard even creepier? We'll just make it like a war zone, like a military graveyard.
And they also have two Skulltula house or skull, however you pronounce that word, in this game too. I only did one of them.
Skulltulas.
Skulltulas. I only
like
did
tarantula, Skulltula.
Oh, okay.
Spider Boys.
Spider Boys, yeah. Skullface.
Yes.
Skullface. Just call him the Skullface Killer. That's his name.
Amazing.
And I had a friend that straight up just called them skull fuckers. I was like, that's the worst name.
That's a little different there.
He's like, how many of the skull fuckers did you find? I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah,
the question is how old.
They're all over the place.
How old was this person when they made that joke? Because when you're younger, you might not realize what you're saying.
This was when we were like 11, and he definitely didn't know.
Yeah,
he definitely didn't know what skull fucker meant.
That is not rated E for everyone.
I thought that was, like, looking back at it, it's one of the funniest damn things. It's like, hey, you seen any skull fuckers around here? I'm like, Ganon? He's not in this game. Who are you talking about? Who do you hate that much in Ocarina?
Ganon was at the gym while this was occurring.
And then once you do get all, because in this game you don't get coins or Triforce pieces or anything, you're getting these masks that you need to set free these big giants that are stop the moon in the end, which is how you get to the moon to do the final final part.
Yeah.
You have to awaken 4 giants.
Yeah, which I feel like is probably a metaphor for something too.
Which literally just hold up the moon. They're like, we'll take care of this.
If Majora kills people and traps their souls in masks, which he did basically with everybody.
He definitely does.
Did he do that to his friends too, who are the people holding up the moon?
I want to say yes, because they make a comment about "we forgive you."
Yeah.
So and they do say they're his friend. And they're like, we'll always be your friend, something like that.
Not Majora, Skull Kid.
Skull Kid.
Yeah, Majora is a very different character.
Right. Excuse me. So
it's the Skull Kid doing the things, being influenced by Majora the Mask for majority of the game.
Yeah.
a majority.
And Majora does
Good.
cast the Skull Kid aside at some point and say, "You're garbage. You've ran out your usefulness,
At the very
and now
end.
I got it from here." Yeah, and I've always had a theory that the moon actually isn't part of Termina or the world in general because it would fall out of the orbit once it's destroyed. I think it's just part of Majora's own powers, is what it is.
Still feel like everything's just a
Yeah.
dream and he's just suffering a very bad nightmare. That didn't make
Yeah.
so much sense.
Because Majora
Certain
actually,
theories.
the actual character Majora, just never really showed up in Zelda. You get like an incarnation of him, but the actual
Mhm.
character Majora is just kind of like this weird, like myth in the universe.
Yes,
Mhm.
the mask was created by some forgotten tribe, and it was used to hex people, and then it was locked away so that no one else could use it. And then it was unlocked. Now I read online that there are some manga series of Legend of Zelda that
Yeah.
they talk about Majora, and Majora is actually a dragon, and that the mask was created after the dragon was pretty much going nuts, and someone distracted it by like.
Imagine like it's kind of like No Face from Spirited Away. Like if
Yes.
his face became like a mask thousands of years in the future that people just
Mm.
had, they didn't really know who No Face is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the manga explanation. I don't know if that's canon to Zelda or if it's
like-
even.
I don't think it is canon,
Because
but
even Termina
doesn't-
has like different lore. Like they have some of the stuff is very Hyrulean or Hylian. Sorry, some of the stuff is very Hylian, where it's like the same backstory, but then like a lot of their myths are all mixed up too. So
Mhm.
it's hard to say like, oh, is this a dream world or is this a alternate universe? And if that's the case, then does Majora only exist in this, or is Majora a character overall?
yeah,
Mhm. It's
absolutely.
like it's Necronomicon.
Yeah, like is Majora like the Cthulhu of this universe, where he's always existed, and parts of him will always exist somehow.
So here's a question: If then Skull Kid plus Majora killed his friends and trapped them in masks, or trapped their spirits in masks, who is the fierce deity?
I don't know, because the kids are even weirder, because there's I think this was just a thing that they did to save on resources, but you can actually like some people actually went into the Majora's Mask files and removed the masks from the Moon Kids, and they have the face of the Happy Mask Salesman,
Yeah. Oh, man.
which just raises 100 more questions.
Well, like in the end, after you get him the mask back, he just disappears. He just like fades away in the ending.
Yeah.
So, which adds more to it too. Is like, who is he? Why does he have these masks? I mean, he has Mario's mask too, which is just an Easter egg, but
Yeah.
got a lot of interesting things on his backpack. But it's like,
Yeah,
why
he's
does he have something of so much power?
He's a weird character.
What he says at the end is, whenever there is a meeting, a parting shall follow, but that parting needs not last forever. Whether a parting be forever or merely for a short while, that is up to you.
Which essentially means I am forever.
Yeah.
I am omnipotent Cthulhu.
Which we didn't mention in the beginning of this, but when you first start the game, one of the first things he says to you, which I had forgotten about till Helena had posted a screenshot of it, is, "You have met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" It's how the game starts out early on.
Yeah, you always get the sense that the masked salesman is not like, he presents himself as just a salesman, but the sense is like, oh, he's got something else going on. He knows way more than any, because you can even go back to them and like show him the masks, and he knows everything about every mask pretty much.
Oh, I never did that. I never talked to him again.
If you go back to him and just like hold, instead of putting the mask on in front of him, you can just hold the mask up in front of him, and he'll say like, oh, that's the all night mask. Oh, that's a really mysterious mask. Little is known about it. So he has all this like knowledge. And it's like, who are you? Because he's never in town. He's always just hiding in the clock tower underneath the Skull Kid at the exact epicenter where the fucking moon would hit. You're like, what are you? How do you belong in this universe?
Mhm.
Very interesting.
I always thought that he was like, yeah, like he was some kind of, I don't know, like not a god, but some kind of like weird supernatural creature that just came in and out. Like he's like the Mushishi or something.
I did not get that reference.
At the Mushi from Mushishi. It's an anime that no one watched except for, well, it's gotten quite a few views recently. But it's like a spirit, just a wandering spirit that has a very specific goal, and his is just like archaeology, finding these masks and collecting them. And he doesn't trade them; like he just travels around collecting them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then he freaks out when he loses them.
Yeah, he loses. He loses the most powerful mask of all time, which for some reason isn't like locked up at the center of a fucking sun.
Yeah, I want to know how he got his hands on it.
Yeah, that's another question: is how did Majora's Mask even get to him, and where the fuck is it now?
Yeah.
Is he in is he just traveling through dimensions? Is he traveling through dreams and dimensions and exists outside them all?
Oh, do you guys have any more things you want to say about the game before we go to listener questions? Because I do have some stuff we haven't really brought up. Will be brought up in some of the questions I have for us.
Yes.
There's so much to say about this game.
I know.
Yeah. There was one thing. The hand coming out of the toilet. So.
Oh, yeah. I was actually thinking about him earlier because I was like, I bet Mike's going to say that's his favorite character.
I forgot all about that character because when I first played the beginning part of this game, I was on a train. This was like 2 weeks ago when I was in Chicago. I forgot completely all about that.
Yeah.
So let me tell you what I found out because, of course, yeah, it's a hand out of a toilet. I was like, what the fuck is up with this? So, there is a lot of Japanese lore and mythology around ghosts in bathrooms. There are a bunch of different ghost stories. They kind of have like a version of Bloody Mary named Hanako-san, who, if you say, "Are you there, Hanako-san?" she might come out. Now, not all these ghosts are bad, but some of them are. And so I think that this one is a variation of the Akamanto myth. There's a few different versions around Japan. One of them is that a man will appear in a red cape and hood, and he'll say red paper, blue paper, as in like toilet paper. And depending on how you answer, that'll change the way he kills you. So if you say red paper, he'll stab you and all the blood will make you red. If you say blue paper, he'll choke you and,
lose-lose situations.
Yes, it's not good. But one of the versions of the myths, or that myth, the Akamanto, is that it's the arm of a hairy yokai reaching out from the toilet. And that
oh my gosh,
they grope the bottom of the person using the toilet.
Okay.
Oh man, this
everything about this game is dark.
That's funny to me because that's like that again. It's terrifying and disturbing. That character in the game is probably the most comical character.
Yes.
Who doesn't even have a name. His name is just 3 question marks. And I think you have to give him don't you give him like the deed or something?
Yep, you give him the deed.
You give him the deed to the building that he's in for toilet paper, and he gives you a heart piece.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, this really reminded me.
He flushed the toilet somehow. There's a toilet flush that is heard, but it's like an old school like latrine, so it's even funnier.
This really reminded me of a dark Chuck Palahniuk story where kids would go down to the bottom of the pool where the suction is.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yep, and they would put their butts there, and the suction would actually suck out the back of the rectum of their intestines into it, and they would drown because they were not able to pull it out.
Yep, it was the inspiration for a death in Final Destination. It was also the dumbest death in Final Destination.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sorry I had to bring that up.
This is a very depressing episode. I just want to say that. Like, this is not our normal. Our most episodes are very comical, and I'm just sitting here thinking about this. Like, this is a very, very depressing episode.
We'll get it back on track. Fierce Deity is Super Saiyan Link.
Oh my god, we almost made it. Almost made it without a single reference.
All week long, I was thinking about how am I gonna bring up that Fierce Deity is just Link Super Saiyan 2.
You have a point, but unfortunate. We hadn't mentioned. I will mention the Majora's Mask fight. I mean, that fight was interesting. He goes through the 3 different forms that you have.
They're all so creepy too.
Yeah, they are.
You just fight him, and you fight Majora's Incarnation and Majora's Wrath. And
the first one and the third one both involve tentacles being thrown at you the whole entire time.
Yeah,
but the whole thing is just strange.
I like. Are very threatening. So yes, I can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I always had so many questions about that, where I was like, how much of what's going on is Skull Kid, and how much of what's going on is like the influence of Majora?
I would say almost all of it is Majora playing on the insecurity of Skull Kid and the loneliness and the mischievousness, but taking it and using it in a form of evil, in a sense.
Yeah, but at some point, he pretty much stops being Skull Kid.
Yeah,
I've always wanted to play the game and try to really nail down at what point is he no longer Skull Kid in the story. Is it once you get to the moon, or is it like the end of day one?
Would you say it's more akin to like Bob from Twin Peaks?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I do not get that reference, by the way.
That's all right.
Yeah.
It's okay. Don't explain it.
I know 2 listeners that will get it, and that's it.
I also do not get that reference.
I never watched Twin Peaks yet. All right,
Bob is like a malevolent thing that takes over people, and it's like it goes back and forth between them being in control and Bob being in direct control, but he's always influencing their actions. So it's a really close metaphor, actually.
Yeah, I think like the way it works, especially in Bob's case and Majora's Mask, is that like in Twin Peaks, the dad thinks his daughter's pretty, so Bob says, "Well, she's pretty enough to rape." As in like Majora's Mask, it's kind of the same thing with Skull Kid, where
Twin Peaks is fucked up, guys.
Yeah, sorry, but in Majora's Mask, it's kind of the same thing where it's like, none of these people like you. You're a loner. You should probably kill them with this moon. Yeah. You know, like he's influencing through action.
I'm always going to have that connection in my head now. Of Majora is just Bob from Twin Peaks. It always made me want to like I don't know. It makes me want a Majora-based Zelda game where it's like you actually have to fight some real incarnation of Majora, but I don't know if I want that. Like, part of me loves that it's just this unexplored evil thing that like existed way in the past and maybe exists outside of time. And another part of me is like, I would love to have a giant Majora fight where it's like maybe like I think that would have to be the last Zelda game they ever made, where Link, Zelda, and Ganon all have to team up to fight Majora.
Ugh.
Like they all have to be like they all recognize that there's a bigger threat.
My dream.
Yeah, maybe that's awesome. The next one. Like I said, the hint with the next one is that you're going to play as Zelda and it'll be a different story. Like that's what people are hoping for right now.
That would be legit.
I had a question. Did you guys feel overwhelmed or underwhelmed by the boss fight in this game compared to the previous game?
I don't want to say it's underwhelming. I think the previous game it was more climactic because it's still Ganon. Mm-hmm. It's still Ganondorf. You're still fighting and he's like more of a direct antagonist in that game. In Majora's Mask, like Skull Kid, he's not even really the antagonist. Like he screws with you in the beginning, and then the game is kind of just like fixing his mistakes. But like even when you beat him, it's not like you're trying to kill the guy. Like you're just trying to get Majora's Mask from him so he'll stop. Whereas Ocarina of Time, like Ganondorf's actively like kidnapping Zelda and screwing over Hyrule, and
I would agree with that.
Working against you. So yeah, it's more climactic in Ocarina. Majora's Mask is more like just atmospheric. It's just stuff's happening.
Yeah, Mike.
I mean, it's been a long time to beat Ocarina, but Ocarina felt more epic just because you have so much more history with Ganondorf and everything. But I liked it. I mean, I had no problem with this fight at all. I thought it was cool and I enjoyed it a lot.
Nice.
All right, I'm going to bring us over to listener questions. I do got a few I want to read. One that will take us into something else we haven't brought up yet that I want to, but that'll be the end of that part. One question from Sebastian. He said, first time playing it, or do you have any memories with it? Which we mostly answered earlier. I mean, all of us had played a little bit before.
Played the shit out of it. Oh, my God.
Another one, let's see. Here, this one from Daniel. Which version do you prefer, the N64 or the 3DS?
My N64.
I say 3DS. But I'm only one I think I played the 3DS out of us four.
It's not that 3DS. I like that I understand that they added the eyes. It's like a mechanical update in the 3DS version to the bosses to make it a little easier, but
it's not bad. It's cool.
Yeah, it's cool, but I don't know. I like how almost patchwork they are in the N64 game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They almost look more like Goat and Georg, and I guess even Twin Mold they almost look more machine than organic creature.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Odal was the only one who looks like he was at some point he was a living human or whatever that just got turned into a spirit. The rest look like they're all like patchwork together. And I think the eyes would make them look too organic to me.
I would disagree for the bosses only in the 3DS version, like Adola. I mean, you can take them out with anything, freaking bubbles. Like you could be Bubble Man and take them out. In the 3DS version, you actually have to use the Deku, which is what you are for that temple.
Right.
Yeah.
And pop out of the flower and drop shit on them and stun them and all that. I think it's a little bit more immersive that way.
Yeah, it might just be that I played the N64 one first, so that's the one I like best.
Yeah, that probably has a lot to do with it. I never really played it.
I agree with that too. I tried to replay the N64 version actually on my N64, and it was so blocky that I could barely see anything. I was like, man, I used to remember this being so gorgeous, and now I just think my childhood brain couldn't comprehend it, so just filled everything in.
Just look at all the fan art of it, because there's plenty out there.
Oh,
64 hasn't, that whole polygon era hasn't aged as well.
No, old Zelda games, I don't want Nintendo to go down the remake, like the remaster route, really. I like that Nintendo is constantly putting out new stuff. They're always working on new things, and that they don't want to be remastering old stuff all the time. But I would love for them to at some point go back and just be like, hey, we're gonna re-release like the collector's edition remastered, like just slightly update. I mean, the first 2D games would be pretty easy to update, just make them look a little bit better, and then Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask as like, God, I don't even know if like maybe not even on par with Twilight Princess, but just better.
Oh, I'd cry.
Yeah.
I think everyone would just love Nintendo for that. They said, hey, we're going to remaster Ocarina of Time. I don't think anybody out there would be like, oh, I can't believe they're remastering everything. Just people would be like, yeah, okay. You get your one.
They kind of remastered Ocarina of Time with a 3DS version in a way.
Kind of, but it's not like
not a full remake.
Yeah. So if they remade those games, I think that'd be fantastic.
I got 3 more questions I want to read. First one, because this one's kind of to me from Carrie, because I said that Majora's Mask I called an underrated of the Zelda games, and his question was, is it really underrated? I still think it is. I think this is one of the least played ones for the 3D Zelda series.
I wouldn't say anymore. Not anymore. Not with Skyward Sword.
No.
I guess I forgot about Skyward Sword in general, so that didn't help that.
I mean, I'll say this game had I was looking at reviews of it, and it had mixed reviews when it came out, but it's considered to be one of the greatest games of all time now. So I wouldn't say it's underrated anymore. I'd say it's underplayed, but it's not underrated.
Okay.
Underappreciated too.
Yeah. Maybe not even underappreciated. Just underplayed. Just more people need to play it. More people need to experience it.
Which I agree too. After finally going through 19 years later and playing it, it's definitely something people should play.
Next time you get in one of those moods and you want to watch like something that makes you cry, instead of playing Majora's Mask.
Yeah, honestly, though.
Yeah.
Next
top
question.
10 saddest anime deaths.
From
a picture of the moon.
Oh my god.
All right, next question from Michael. Do you believe that Majora's Mask is really all about Link going through the stages of grief over Navi's death?
Oh, over
Navi. Very interesting point.
I've heard that theory before.
I like the dream better, but that also makes sense. That whole because everything about this game, it's all about depression and death, and it does make sense.
Well, there's that also. Yeah,
I've heard that theory before, where like the what are the stages of grief, where it's like anger is the Deku Shrine.
I actually pulled up that tab before we started so that we could talk about that.
There you go. You read it off then, because I'm not going to be able to remember the 5 stages of grief. I think it's anger, denial. No, it's denial, anger, depression,
acceptance.
I like how he starts it off. I'm going to let you read it off, and he starts reading it off.
Well, I think I got it, and I want to be satisfied in getting it right. It's
You're missing one.
There's 5. It's denial. It's the first one. Anger is the second one. Is depression the third one or the fourth one?
It's the fourth one. You're missing the third one.
Bargaining.
Yes. And then depression and acceptance. So denial is Clocktown, and that is represented by the citizens of Clocktown by when they're refusing to believe that the moon will actually fall. Which we talked about with the Carpenters and how they kind of said, this is a mass panic, don't worry about it. And then at the end, they all had to accept Well, not all of them accepted it. That one carpenter was still fighting it to the end.
But like up until the end of day 2, everyone's still in town and still getting like that's only until like the beginning of day 3 are people going, I think we should get out of here.
Yep.
We have a day to outrun a moon.
Yep. So then step 2 is anger, and that's represented by Woodfall. And that we see with the Deku King when he's pissed off that his daughter went missing, and he becomes so angry that he starts to punish the monkey, which is also a really brutal part of the game. You can actually watch the monkey be tortured. He gets lowered into boiling water.
I did not know that. I didn't stick around, but no, that is creepy as hell.
So how is the Goron Shrine bargaining then?
Because Darbany begs you to bring him back to life.
Oh. That was the only one I couldn't think of.
And depression, I guess, being the Great Bay and all that stuff.
Right.
So
makes sense.
That's really Lulu. And there's a lot of talk online about her going through postpartum depression.
I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
She also, because she also seems to like know Macau is dead before anybody else even knows.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I haven't seen him; he's dead. Which is that's a healthy reaction to have if your partner doesn't come home for like if he's like an hour late. Just be like, he's dead. It's the end.
Retweet. I totally do that. Yes, and then acceptance is the last one, and I mean, Icana Valley is it. Everyone is dead.
Yeah.
It's literally accepting that everyone is dead, and we're all
so, like chill about it too. They're like, "Yep, we're ghosts."
Yeah.
Like they're swinging on vines and stuff, and be like, "What the hell are you doing here? This is ghost territory." They're like the Jets. They're like the fucking Jets from West Side Story.
They come in snapping.
They try to snap, but they can't snap because they don't have hands. So they're just like they're making the snapping noises with their mouths. They come up, they're like shaking their hands, like snap, snap, snap. Imagine this was snapping. It'd be better.
Cracking.
They're cracking their bones.
God.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't really think about all. I mean, I know I've heard that story. I've heard this before, but that was very interesting.
Yeah. I've heard
you know what else too? Gomez. Yeah. He is like the Grim Reaper, is he not?
Ooh.
Yes, I watched a few videos on that too.
Which guy are we talking about? I'm confused.
The one with the scythe.
I don't remember this.
Hold on.
He's like a.
Are you talking about the guy with the purple mask?
Yeah,
no.
He's like a
temple, right? And he's literally like a shadow dude with bats around him, and he.
Yes.
Okay,
Helena knows what I'm talking about.
Not a Skype. That's why I was like, hold on.
Well, he's got a scythe in his art. A scythe. Sorry.
I thought he was joking at first that last time, but he wasn't joking. Oh.
A Skype. Yeah, we're all over the place in this episode.
Yeah, we are.
Skype, I think, is the most heinous.
See, we're trying to inject humor into this depression-filled episode. So.
For anyone who doesn't know, I'm the only one actually drinking beer during this episode. So
I'm drinking a La Croix, which Mike thought was beer on the first episode.
What'd you just call it?
La Croix.
Oh, I hated that.
LaCroix. I've got my La Croix and my croissant.
Stop.
It was one of the early episodes. I made that joke when you opened the can. So it was a long time ago.
Oh, wow.
All right. And since we're speaking about depression, we're going to do our last question. I saved this for last, but I did want to bring this up. And he said, guys, from Brian, he says, not my favorite Zelda game, but still great. However, I like it more for the kick-ass urban legend it spawned, Ben Drowned.
Oh, I was going to bring that up.
Which I wanted to bring I know Helena had mentioned wanting to bring this up, so I was waiting to, and we're just about done with this game.
Yeah. Is that like one of the first creepypastas ever?
Yes.
I hate
it's got to be like one of the first big three.
When I found it as a kid, it creeped me out because I always believed in ghosts, and I still do. And especially as a kid when I was reading it, so probably a few years after I found out about the game, it really messed with me. I remember that much.
It's so good. I love it. Oh, I love this story.
And for those that don't know what we're talking about, if you Google Ben Drowned creepypasta Majora's Mask, something of that nature, it's a horror story about a guy who finds a copy of Majora's Mask in like a garage sale or something, I want to say.
Yeah, with the name Ben written on it in like marker.
Yeah.
He's given the name by an old man.
Mm. Oh, yeah.
Yes. And it originally was posted onto 4chan, and there were multiple different. Okay, sorry, this is where I geek out because I really love the Ben Drown story. So he posted multiple.
Hopefully, we don't have to describe what creepypastas are.
We keep going. We're good.
It's very limited still. Yes. So he made multiple posts talking about what is going on with this crazy game cartridge, and then he also introduced videos that they were in .wmv format, and it looks legit. And basically, as he's playing, all these creepy things happen, like the game gets inverted, music is playing backwards, textures disappear, and then the Elegy of Emptiness statue starts following him around, and you keep hearing Happy Mask Salesman laughing, and then like crazy accounts pop up that say like Ben, and then Ben drowned. It's absolutely
and it's like
wild.
Doesn't it keep teleporting him and like sending the elegies underwater as well, like at the bottom of the Great Bay.
Yeah, and the one part that like is really creepy is sends him to the top of the clock tower where he's fighting Majora's Mask and Skull Kid, and Link just bursts into flame on top of this tower, and then the game restarts suddenly, and when it opens back up, Link, the sprite is laying in a way that it never has in the game before.
Like back looks broken.
Yeah,
it's
up
so
until that
creepy.
point, you're like, oh, well, you can just edit this. But at this, you're just like, holy shit, what is wrong with this game?
I remember.
I don't know if it was the first creepypasta. Well, it definitely wasn't the first, but it was like probably the most convincing earlier. It was probably like the first creepypasta that was really done up with real production. And yeah, it was so creepy and so weird. The idea of a haunted video game
all these years later.
It's amazing.
I never read them.
I have the link. I'll send it to you.
Yes, please.
Yeah, you might really like a couple of them. Okay, so Stefan, there's a lot of shit out there. There's a lot of shit. But Ben Drown is pretty good. There's also another one I should send you about a cave that's really good.
I will read all of them. Absolutely.
Have you never heard about the Russian sleep experiment?
Are we on the same website? I'm looking at that
too. That's like one of the most famous ones. No, that one always stuck with me because that was like about insomnia. That was super creepy.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'll say the cave one is the best by far, I think. I'll send you that one.
Is that This Hole Was Made for Me?
No, that's the Junji Ito manga. There's another one that's like it's about like a spelunker who keeps going into this cave and he thinks he's hearing stuff in it.
Oh god.
It's called Ted the Caver.
I would also like that link, please.
I'll send it to
if anyone's never read Junji Ito, please read him as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely crazy, disturbing stuff.
Send me whatever links you guys want. I'll include them in the show notes from when I publish this tomorrow.
Absolutely.
It's just gonna be people are gonna be like, they're talking about a Zelda game. Why the fuck are all these creepypastas and Junji Ito in the show notes?
An hour and 46 minutes in, you'll find out. We'll be a little bit left after I get done cutting out spaces, but it'll be close.
Our show notes would be like every single episode. The first note would have to be like Dragon Ball Z. It's just always on there.
Unfortunately. All right, before we get shelf or box, why don't we do something happy? Let's do a C fact. I need something non-depressing in this episode.
My C fact. For this week's episode of Whale, 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 what do we have here? For
all intents and purposes.
Stroke, colon, I'll see you in Shell, you son of a beach.
Son of a beach. Don't ask why we have this. We don't really know either.
The title is better than the C-Facts ever could be. Some sea anemone create a oh God, I fucking forgot the word now. What's the opposite of a parasitic relationship where two things work together?
Symbiotic.
They form a symbiotic relationship with algae. The algae actually grows inside the sea anemone and gets and can photosynthesize from the light, and it gives nutritional energy to the sea anemone. So fun. Can you imagine walking around with a bunch of moss growing out of your neck, and that's how you ate for the day? Like, oh, I'm feeling a bit peckish.
Sounds like me and my ex-girlfriend. Anyway.
And on that note,
I have a CFAC that is definitely not depressing in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, sure, we'll take it.
Did you know that in the correct conditions, when a body or a human body decays, it can actually turn into soap while in the water?
it turns into soap. Yeah,
The fat, yes.
yeah. That's
I
how
did
they
not know that.
discovered. That's actually how they discovered soap. That's how soap was kind of a thing. Is as communities would bury, they supposedly, this is like the working theory, is that in areas where they had like sacrificial, like they'd have sacrifices upriver, and people would be washing their clothes and bathing downriver, and the fat from the bodies would flow down the river, and they found they were getting cleaner. And somebody made the connection that the fat from the bodies is what caused their water to become like a cleaning solution.
Mhm.
Yep. It's half the plot to Fight Club.
Yep.
I was just gonna say something like that.
And then you take lye and you burn your hand and burn down a building.
Yep.
Oh man.
With your
This
feet
episode-
on the air, your head on the ground.
I feel
whole
like that's one of the
episode.
facts that most people don't know.
It's been
All right. I think we're gonna go to Shelfer Box.
a
And
class.
Stefan, you want to go first for Shelfer Box?
Ask yourself.
Let Stuart finish. Pixies.
If man is five, if man is five. Underrated
Where's
song.
my-
Nobody knows Monkey Gone to Heaven except me.
I have no idea what
I
you're
used to
singing.
own that album. But
It's
yeah.
such a good album.
I can sing
Yeah.
Taylor Swift if you want to. I know most of those are.
Get the hell out of
Sure.
here.
Please don't.
I'm not kidding either. I can. But Stefan, Shelfer Box, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna make mine really short. Basically, the fact that you can still be immersed in a game that with characters that feel super real and super great through a 3-day period that was only made in 9 months. I mean, that's
impressive.
an award in itself, and Nintendo deserves all the awards for that. And because of that, I would put it on my shelf.
Okay. How about you, Stuart?
I mean, no surprise here. I'm also going to shelf it. This is, like I said, this is my favorite Zelda game. I played the hell out of this as a kid. Probably why I have such like a morbid, like
You know, I
interests
can
and
agree
stuff.
with that.
But yeah, I like I always say, I like things that are. I like when things are dark, not dark for no reason. I like when things are dark for a reason, and they are kind of weird. And this game fits both those categories. And I think it's so different for a Zelda game. I was so immersed in it as a kid that I just became so emotionally attached to every character and all their how all their lives intertwined, and like how they were all living out essentially their last days over and over and over again. I thought that was really, really dark and depressing, but also like it really, really drew me in. So this is going right on the top of my shelf so everyone can see it. One of the games I absolutely defined myself by.
Mhm.
Okay. How about you, Helena?
Follow that, Helena.
Okay, I will. Okay. When this game, so I got my introduction to video games by watching my older brother
Oh shit.
play. But yeah, I'm gonna top that. By watching my older brother play Ocarina of Time and Crash Bandicoot and Twisted Metal, and so we had an N64, and when Majora's Mask was first coming out, apologies for the dog, by the way.
That's all right.
There were these commercials where Link would put on the mask, and then that little sequence where he's changing into them would happen, where he's screaming at the camera. And I was such a little emo kid and so depressed all the time. I was like, wow, I really need that game. And I remember when it came to my birthday, it was right around the time that Majora's Mask came out. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. And I was given a cartridge-shaped present. And I was like, yes, it's finally here. I got Donkey Kong 64. And I was trying so hard
What
to
a twist.
it right. I was like, oh, this is great. Thanks. And then it turned out that the Donkey Kong 64 had the Rumble Pack in it. So after I had opened that and I was like very sad, my brother came out with the Majora's Mask game, and he was like, this is why, we got you Donkey, because you needed the Rumble Pack to play this. And just crying because I was so excited. Shelve this game forever. Keep it in my N64 forever. I love this game so much. Can't recommend it enough.
That's actually a good twist.
That was
Good
really
story.
good too.
Thank you. Top that.
I won't be able to.
Yeah, top that, Mike. Tell us a great story about how. Give us an emotionally impacting reason why you don't listen to music.
Because nothing can top Robo's theme, which is based on the Rick Roll song. Do 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 do. Do, 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 do,
It's a special circle in hell for you.
It actually is for some reason Robo's theme and Chrono Trigger actually sounds like they actually use part of the Rickroll theme, and that's why I like that song a lot. And but
all of our listeners just left.
I can actually sing that song too, but I'm not going to on air.
I like how I'm complaining after I just butchered two separate Pixie songs.
That's what we do on this show. People are still listening to us, and more listening to us than they were at first. So hey, something's working. But this game is definitely going to go on the shelf. Like before we played it for the show, it would have been a box. It was a game that I got it for Christmas from my uncle because I had asked for it. I had played Ocarina of Time, and I never beat Ocarina of Time as a kid. It was a game that a friend of mine used to come over all the time, and he would play it, and I would watch him. And I was always nervous of games that weren't a turn-based RPG where I didn't feel safe because I had a lot of complications with that. Because when I grew up, I had a speech problem. I was made fun of a lot. I had a scar on my lip, which I still have, but I don't care anymore. So I'm an adult now. But so I felt very secluded from things. So gaming had been a big part of that, and a lot of it was people watching other people play games. And that's why I picked up this game because I'm like, okay, I really like Ocarina of Time, so I want to play this. You know, it's a Zelda game. I love Link to the Past. I really like Ocarina. And my friend that came over that I used to hang out with a lot, which was on the show earlier before, he really didn't play it at that time either. We couldn't really grasp the system of it, so I never played. I'm like, it's not that, I didn't like the 3-day cycle. I'm like, it's not that great of a game. It's always been something I thought very lowly of until I finally sat down and played it for the show, and I really enjoyed it. Definitely not my top 3 Zelda games, but it was a great game and something that I might never play again, but I really love it. And it's very interesting, which is I've been seeing the theme of these last few days, but definitely going on the show.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's a tribute to Nintendo in a way. All their Zelda games are pretty amazing.
Yeah, I really do want to play the CDI ones though someday.
They're all pretty unique and pretty. It's rare to have a series where all the games can feel so different in tone, but still be so universally loved.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Stuart, before we get on to plugs, do you want to mention what game we're playing next week?
No, because I can't remember. Oh wait, no. Yeah, I do.
Mention go, baby.
I did. We are playing Beautiful Joe.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I was like, I can't remember. I literally talked to our guest about it yesterday.
Oh my god.
Get ready to hear a lot of Henshin and Go-Go babies next week because I'm going to be saying that nonstop.
It's going to be fun. I'm going to kill myself. Yeah, just commit Harikari while recording. And
he failed, Beautiful Joe. Oh, see, at least you're playing something happy. I need something happy after playing Majora's Mask.
Here's the thing. Majora's
cleanser.
Mask is like a depressing, lonely, awful game emotionally, but I feel good after playing it. Beautiful Joe is a happy, colorful game that makes me want to kill somebody.
Like, I didn't mention this yet, but when I was playing Majora's Mask, I was getting all like, I don't know, I was getting irritable or something, and my wife was like, "You need to beat this game because I'm tired of you playing it." Because I was getting annoyed.
Oh my god!
Because when I play certain games, like when I play Dark Souls, because essentially I'll be yelling at Dark Souls. I'll just be upset. Like there was one time I was playing Dark Souls 1. She's at work that day. I come to work to meet her for lunch, and I'm just all sad. She's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Nothing." She's like, "Really? What's wrong?" I'm like, "I can't beat the Iron Golem." She's like, "Shut up." And she did not find that. She's like, "What are you upset for?" I'm like, "I couldn't beat Iron Golem. I can't do Sen's Fortress." Yeah, but so, and this game was kind of having that effect on me. I wasn't having a problem, but I was apparently being moody while playing the game. Well, moody for no reason. But it was kind of funny. Oh, and I was kind of ignoring her too. That's the reason she got mad at me. She was trying to talk to me. I was playing Majora's Mask, and not paying attention to what she was saying.
Jesus, Mike, you should never ignore your wife. Good God.
I don't normally, but normally I never do. But I was. It was an Icona tempo, and I was getting absorbed in what was going on, and I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, that's
That's
a fairly
understandable.
depressing part to get absorbed into. I get that.
I'm imagining Mike now as a Frozone from Incredible. It's like Tiffany's trying to ask him something. He's like, "Woman, where is my Zora suit?"
Oh my god.
That was kind of funny. Oh, that's never happened.
I played Majora's Mask with like a smile on my face. I'm like, I'm having so much fun.
Well,
play Majora's Mask and then like I'll feel better about like going out and hanging out like a crowd. I'll be like, I'm just having such a good day.
Well, since we're at the very end, I will share this part of the story. Like, I mean, because Majora's Mask, also playing through it, kind of touched me in a lot of ways, because I do deal with depression and certain things after something that happened to me earlier in my life. So this game kind of connected in certain ways that it was interesting. And because mostly I moved past it. That part of my life is gone, and I cut out the toxic person. But it, I could really relate to what was happening.
Is it the most emotionally intense of any Zelda game?
Yes.
Like a long shot, I'd say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like Twilight 100%. Princess probably has the most story, like actual written story in it, I think. Well, I haven't played Breath of the Wild yet. I don't know how much is going on there.
It's so good.
I don't have a Switch.
I only played about an hour, maybe 3 hours Breath of the Wild. Couldn't get very far, and I hate that game at the moment.
But, well, maybe
I know. I need to replay it and actually play it. But
maybe the price of Switch will come down. I'll get it. Well, the Switch Lite is coming.
It is. Yeah, with $200 for the Switch Lite.
Yeah, but you can't take the joypad, Joy-Cons off.
Which is one problem. Oh, and before we do our plugs and everything that we keep talking apparently, I did want to say, if you're listening to this recording, as of today, as we're recording on 7/14/2019, we have hit our 6-month anniversary of Games My Mom Found.
Oh, yeah.
Woo-hoo. 6 months since we first put this out, and we are actually very close to 3,000 total downloads. Thanks to you guys.
Congrats, guys.
2,800.
I mean, thank you.
Wow.
All right, but if you guys enjoyed the show, you can find more like it on whatever podcasting platform you use. And most of our episodes are humor, not depressing like this one was. This and Shadow of the Colossus are both our depressing episodes so far.
So good.
I just feel depressed, and usually I'm all giddy after we record, and I just feel sad right now. I'm just like, oh, what? Yeah.
Well, that's perfect, because I just sent you the links to the creepypasta. So if you don't want to feel sad and you want to feel scared instead, there you go.
I literally, when I did read that Ben Drown when I was younger, I feel like I found it when I was probably in my early 20s. My son was probably like 2 at the time or so, and I was sitting there surfing the web all the time, and I read that story, and I still believe in ghosts and all that thing, and it creeped the hell out of me. I do remember that. And when you were reading it earlier, I could just feel like my hair in the back of my neck just tickling, and I just felt very uneasy. I'm like, oh, I don't like it. Thank you.
There was a follow-up to Ted. There's a follow-up to Ted the Caver, and I can't find it now.
Okay, we got time. If you find it, I'll put it. I'm going to put all these in the show notes below our plugs.
The first part of it's really good. Somebody did a follow-up to it that's also pretty good, but I can't find it. But the first part is good enough by itself to throw it in the show notes.
Okay, just send me the link.
Ted the Caver is, if you at all feel claustrophobic, then I would say maybe don't read
it. I don't. I used to go in sewer, like storm drains, when I was living in Milwaukee, which I should not have been doing. Looking back, I don't know why my dad let me do it.
Oh my
I used
God!
to go through storm drains, and one time I was going through it, and I hit my head on a pipe, like hard, because I was crawling real fast, banged my head right into a pipe, started bleeding. We poured water on my head, and I'm like, the water is red. And I didn't realize that I'm bleeding, and then that was the same week that Resident Evil 4 came out, and I remember I got sick from school, and I never missed school. And I'm at home throwing up, I'm sick, and I got my copy of Resident Evil 4. It just came out that day, and I'm sitting there playing that. I'll never forget.
Throwing up over and over again. Just, this is great.
Well, you grew up in a town named Derry, right, Mike?
Yeah. And I was just about to say.
You saw a clown in there.
Jesus Christ.
I never used to be bothered by sewers. I would hang out I wouldn't hang out in sewers. I'm not Charlie from Always Sunny. We hang out in sewers all the time, man. Oh, sewers never bothered me. After I read it, I read like the first half of it, like over the course of a month, and I was like, I'm so sick of not finishing this book. I'm going to sit down and just read it. And I read the second half of it, which is like 1,500 pages or something. I read the whole second half of that book in one night.
Damn.
And to this day, I still do not like walking over sewer grates.
I don't either. But that's because when I was like 4 years old, a neighbor kid took my G.I. Joe and threw it in the sewer, and I've never gotten over that as an adult. So I never walk over sewer grates, and if I'm holding a phone or keys, I will hold them extra tight when I walk over sewer grates. I've never really been okay with that ever since.
The trauma.
It's different kinds of fears that Mike and I have.
I'm also terrified of heights. No, I will not. Either. I've like when me and Tiff first met, and I was trying to impress her. I got on this log chute ride at the Mall of America, and I didn't realize there was a drop, and she thought I knew it. So we're on the log ride. I'm like, okay, goes up, and all of a sudden there's a drop, and I remember going, oh fuck, as we just go shooting down. And she's like, you didn't know there was a drop? I'm like, if I did, I wouldn't have got on there. And there was one other time before I met Tiff with my ex-girlfriend. I was trying to impress her too, I think, and I got on the Turtles ride at Mall America, which is kind of like a little like copter type thing where you're in this little like jetpack thing and I guess you're sitting down and it takes you up. And I remember when I got off it, I was shaking and could barely walk, and I never did that again. So there's my fears.
I used to think I was terrified of I was just terrified of heights, but I found out apparently I've got an inner ear problem that reads like whenever I go up and down elevators, I get really dizzy. Whenever I'm up high, I get really dizzy. Like sudden changes.
Oh, yeah, like vertigo.
I get vertigo really badly. Is exactly what it is. I get terrible vertigo. And
elevators don't bother me. Bridges don't bother me. Being in a vehicle on a freeway doesn't bother me. Climbing a mountain doesn't bother me. But for some reason, rides or being on something small like a tree or somewhere where you're up high but you're vulnerable terrifies the shit out of me. Like, even at the Mall of America, I don't walk by the railings on the third floor. My wife will go right up and I'm like, nope, nothing. I cannot do it. Like I start getting uneasy. I can't even look at her near the railing.
I have that same exact problem. I think most of the time it's because I'm drunk. I'm afraid I'm gonna fall over.
It's a little different,
but
I'm not drunk during these times.
See, I can't even go. Like, I'll go from the first floor of a building to the second floor of a building on an elevator, and I'll feel dizzy. Like, I get really bad. Where I had to go. When we were in DC, we went to the post office building in there, which for probably the majority of our visitors who don't live in DC, or haven't been there.
I live across the river from DC.
The shitty part of DC.
Wow. Excuse me. Okay. All right.
That was fun.
Well, which river? Anyway. Yeah, the post office building is I think it's only 9 stories, but it's a glass elevator. Like it's a almost entirely glass elevator. And I went up there once.
I hate that.
It's awful. Like I was with there was a bunch of tourists in there, and then just me like literally pressed against the door, grabbing onto the railings, like sweating, and I got to the top and I almost just blacked out. I was so dizzy and sick, and I was like, I hate this.
That would be me too. I would not be okay.
Yeah. I was so miserable that day.
Should we wrap up the show now?
Today in your podcast, get to know your podcasters.
Yeah, let's just keep going. Fuck it. We're at 2 hours and 8 minutes. We should probably wrap it up.
Yeah, we're not breaking the record, and I don't want to. We're running out of time.
Oh, in that case, let's do it.
No.
So Ted the Caver starts with.
All right. If you please follow us on Facebook and Instagram, where I'm constantly posting images of screenshots from the upcoming episode we're going to be talking about. So that way you have a little context before you listen to the show. And also, if you get a chance and you get a new podcast to listen to, take a listen to that All Too Real 2 podcast that I mentioned earlier in the show. Also be with many other links apparently in the show notes. You can find it down there. And also, that way I don't forget, our intro brought to us by Bulby, a.k.a. Mike Stoney. It is the Cool Kid Squad off his EP, Bite the Bullet. That's a surprise. I should really write this down one day. But there'll be a link to his YouTube channel also in the show notes, so please take a listen to his music. And Helena, since you're our guest, is there anything you want to plug? I don't ask this question ahead of time. I know.
Sometimes I stream on Twitch. I don't post on social media about it, and will probably never remind anyone when I'm going. But if y'all want to follow, we do have some videos of Resident Evil and some other horror games. And my friend really likes Mortal Kombat, so there's some of that in there too. You can find us at Atomic Helenus. And that's ATOMICHELANUS.
And there'll be a link in the show notes too for that. Above all the creepypasta crap that's going to be in here too now.
Hide me under Ben Drowned.
One more creepypasta because Helena might know the answer to this. There's a movie I saw that was based on. Do you remember the Rake creepypasta? Where it's the white figure in the woods with the bright eyes. It's not Slenderman.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a movie based on that. There was a movie last year that came out called The Rake. Before that, there was a movie based on The Rake, and I can't fucking remember what it was, and nobody else remembers it. I've been losing my mind trying to figure out what movie it is.
I'm gonna need a noodle that and get back to you because I do not know it off the top of my head.
If any of our listeners know what movie I'm thinking about, please let me know.
Is it Kazam?
Facebook.
Yeah, it's Kazam. It's Kazam.
All right. You guys have anything to plug, or is it normal?
It's normal.
Okay. I'd like to plug the movie that was based on The Rake. That was really good.
All right. All right.
I don't remember the name of it, but
thank everyone for listening, and you guys have a wonderful night, everybody.
Awesome.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
might have also been just called The Rake. It might have been
Time to end the recording. Have a great night, everybody.